Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, rev up them engines because we are at Indianapolis. It is 100 laps of Indy, the road circuit. My name's Chase Puppet. I'm going to be joined in the booth by Bradley Dalton. And of course, as always, it's Mr. Paul Glover in our ear. What more could we ask for than spending the Saturday early afternoon with Paul? Let's have a look at the schedule at this moment in time. It is round 11 and it's Indy 100. And following that, in round 12, we go to 100 laps of Road Atlanta. That should be very exciting. And then we finish off on 2 hours of Bahrain. Well, what a great ending that is. Let's have a look at the track itself. Indianapolis, 3.95 kilometers, 2.44 miles. Built in 1909, and we're using a 2014 track layout. 14 corners. And, well, it should be very, very exciting. Turn 1, 2, and 3 should bring us the issues. So let's bring you up keys to the race. Corner exit on long straights. Watch the chicane and track cuts. And Indy Chaos hurricane weather, as you all should know. If you're out in the US, well, it's been quite exciting with hurricanes and storms. So hopefully might see a little bit of rain. Let's move on to the strategy, starting off with the hypercar strats first. Good flat track setup. GTs for defense, fuel, tire strategy. Tires medium hards. Fuel 24 to 28 minutes, 4 stops give or take. Cars to beat are rear-wheel drive ARX, 963, and the all-wheel drive Tipo. Moving on to the GT3 strats. It's strong off the corners, equal tyre wear, and mind the hypercars. Well, that's a given. Fuel will be 30 to 35 minutes. 3 stops, possibly, depending on how they get on. Cars to beat will be the advantage the C8 and the NSX. Well, there we go. Now we're going to go down to the scores. Starting off with the GT3 AMS first. Matthew Bryce is out in front on 245 with Jocelyn Petrie in second. Stephen Bice in third and Stephen Miller in fourth. Mike Bice in fifth with Pierre Moreno, Felipe Marazzi, James Bowdens, Ryan Polbert, Riaz, Carl Struho and Alexander McQuarrie. Trash Panda Racing leading the teams. Of course, there's only 2, so it's a 50-50 chance they're going to win. Speed Details MRE are in second place. Going into the GT3 Pros, currently at the moment, it's David Junt out in front on 252 points with JT Tammy in second. Eduardo Benica, James Walker and Matthew Overton bring out the top 5. Johnny Gutierrez, Ross Smith, Alicio Nettle, Kyle Vassar and Jaime Zalecki in 10th. Dark Thunder Racing leading the teams with Team Pazoo in second, Stardust Autosports in third, and Sim Racing Alliance in fourth. Bad Day Racing in fifth, going down to the Hypercar AMS. Jerry Chen leads the way. He's opened up to nearly a 20-point gap over George Angelidis with John Meyer in third. Scar Pope in fourth, then Eric Monet, Craig Pullen, Jason Whitehead, Luke Goodlife, Norm Graff, Adam Gray, Benjamin Porteous-Heath, and Vinicius Concalves. Ikuri Mistral out in front in the teams with HRC US in second and Reptile Racing in third. Going into the Hypercar Pros, I will only be doing the top 10 here as there's loads. Dan Kirby leads the way by 62 points over Dan Herlock with Mike Bell in third. Tom Lane fourth, Cameron Barker in fifth, and Johnny Yan, Ben Kesby, Wouter De Bruyne, Timon Subic, and Bradley Sellers. And then 11 to 21 on the right-hand side. CMS Pro out in front on 4-7. Smile Power Racing in second. Manta Squid in third. Team Rookie in fourth. Crown Dental in fifth. And SKS Motorsport Acura in sixth place. That brings us up to date with everything that we're going to go coming on and going forward for in today's racing. Let's bring in first, before we have our customary chat with Mr. Ross Smith, we're going to bring in one Bradley Dalton. Brad, welcome in, bud. How are you?
Good afternoon, good evening. Hey, Paul. Hey, James. Hey, everyone in YouTube chat. I'm doing pretty well. Not too bad. I do want to say, again, you mentioned it there, southeastern U.S., everyone affected by the hurricane. It's been rough to watch. We had our fair share here. I'm in Kentucky, so a little bit of behind the scenes for everyone, but I'm in Kentucky and we had some pretty rough weather here. But of course, for those in Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, around Atlanta, and especially everyone down in the Florida Big Bend area, thoughts are with all of those people, because it's the more photos, the more videos that come out, the worse and worse it looks. And, as you mentioned, we may have some of that weather hit us here today in the racing, but of course, I don't want to overshadow the real life impact that has been. It's been really rough to watch, but thankfully I didn't have anything too bad here. Everybody around me was pretty safe, but I do have family down in that neck of the woods, and I've heard it's pretty rough. So big thought out to them, but it's going to be a good race here. I think even with incoming weather, and as I look at the weather, it does look like about halfway through the race, I think we're going to get some rain, and it should be some pretty significant rain. I'm curious to see how the drivers handle the tricky conditions here around the Indy track that, of course, the real life race just ran a week ago, and my boy Rexy with AO Racing won in the GTD category, so I'm very, very happy for that, and I'm curious to see if any Porsches win today. BMW took the Hypercar win, so we'll see if any BMW Hypercars win here today either.
Well, we'll find out on that one, but let's go over to our customary chat with Mr. Ross Smith. Good afternoon to you, Ross. How are you, buddy?
Good. Hello, James, Paul, and Bradley. Nice to see you all again.
I'm very well, thank you very much. You're very quiet for me. Hold on. I'm just going to turn you up just a little bit, man. Here. There we go. Yeah, he's just a little bit low for me. There is Ross. Ross, okay, so first thing I want to go into, obviously, we know what's going on across America at the moment anyway, with the winds and storms and everything else. How simulated is that if we get hit where we're in Indy? There's talk of rain coming. If it's going to be based off IRL, how are you going to simulate that within the simulator?
You mean as far as the weather goes, or?
Yeah.
Well, it just will be. Whatever happens in real life is going to be happening right on the screen. So everybody's trying to kind of figure out what they're going to be doing for that. Obviously, the rain is holding off right now. It's a pretty clear track. But we do anticipate seeing some rain later on. George is giving us some updates as the race goes on. And he's calling it out and saying, man, it looks like that weather is right on its way in. So keep an eye out. So we're just sort of sitting around waiting for that to happen and trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here?
Okay, so how severe is the simulation going to be? I think that's what I'm going to get at the moment. I've seen videos, Brad's seen videos, I think the world's seen videos of what's going on. How severe is the simulator going to be based off that? Because that was a bucket load of rainfall that come down. Are we going to see a bucket load of rainfall and cars going off like slip and slides on an ice skating rink? And are you going to turn around and say at any point, this is just undrivable?
Well, I mean, everything is going to be drivable to some degree or another. It'll be interesting to see who's got their floaties on and their duck feet, and who's going to be struggling. Because once you get in towards the end of this race, that's likely what it's going to do. But who knows? I mean, the weather is a little bit tricky right now. It's kind of blowing all over the place. It could just veer off at the last minute, and then we run dry to the end. So everyone's just got to be ready with their hands on that brake bias button and whatever adjustments they need to make that they can make, and get ready to change into those wets if they need to.
Well, they're going to need to. I'm looking at the weather radar now that I've just been sent, and it is literally on its way. And in a whole full speed of knots here. I'm not going to lie. You're not going to avoid it. I just wondered how actual physically severe we're going to get it in sim. You know, has anybody programmed into R Factor 2 hurricane weather? You know, am I going to see a tornado go whizzing across the track? Cars go up flying, sheep coming across at a rapid rate of knots?
No. But it will feel like there's an awful lot of water on the track if it starts really, really pouring down. So I would say, like we've had some pretty significant rainfall on some of our past races. And generally what happens is you just see the cars slow down quite a bit more. And you'll start to see those who are trying to push, say, their slicks, their dry tires as long as they can before it's like, okay, we got to come in now. And then once you're truly and thoroughly in the wet, it's just a matter of who's figured out how they can get their car settled, who's actually set up so that way their car can handle both weather conditions, and all they have to do is basically change out tires and do some small onboard settings. And that's really going to make or break it. We've seen it happen already a couple times this year where weather really made a huge difference in the performance of the car. So I think that's going to come around again today.
Well, you're going to get rain in about 42 minutes, give or take. Just to let you know, in 16 of them, you spent sitting in here talking to me. So, yeah, that's going to be a fun one. All right, listen, we had a chat on Thursday. We know where we're roughly at with the sim going forward at the moment. You know what I mean? Let's be real about it. We're not working on this sort of season's cars at the moment. Everything's based off next season. Same with the historics. We're not really going forward anymore with this season. We're getting ready for next season. Now, obviously, we said about the Aston Martin, I think it was on Thursday, they've been dragging their heels a bit on getting it over to you. Is there any developments on the Aston Martin over the last couple of days?
Well, for the car we're running now, no, just because there just wasn't really a lot of variation between the performance markers that we had. So looking at KPIs going into the next couple races, we'll see if we need to make any more adjustments. Looking at how the top 10 has currently pretty much all of our Aston Martins in the field in it, I'm going to guess that as we go through the end of this race that they're probably going to get hit again. And, honestly, it kind of makes a lot of sense. You do have your faster guys up there. So, I mean, that's kind of weighting the average, I guess you could say, because you look at Ryan Paul-Reese, and I think he's in the Porsche, the 992, and he's certainly put down some fast laps. So, we might actually begin to see some of these other cars, like the real potential, come through. Johnny Gutierrez in that Mustang, he's been able to put some really good laps down. As long as he doesn't hook it into the wall like Adrian Rice did on Thursday, and he stays straight, I think he'll actually be able to finish up pretty high and be competitive with the rest of the group, with the NSX and the Aston.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, but no developments on getting it for next year then, I presume.
Well, we're going to have our own Aston Martin going into next year, the Evo. It's gonna rock. I don't know how the car characteristics are going to be for sure, just because there's just a lot of development going on right now. We're going to have the new Merc, the new C8, the Corvette, Z06, and a couple others that are going to be in there, the BMW. Like, all those Evos are going to pop in. In fact, we're currently building the Valkyrie, which is the last of the cars that are going to go in. So a new LMH, and the Peugeot 9X8 Evo with the lovely back wing on there, which is polarizing. But it's going to have some changes, and we've even changed some of the cars for this race. LMHs have had their fuel, I think the refill time updated, so that way it better matches what the LMDHs are doing in terms of that. And then the 9X, I think I got a little bit of a fuel usage buff, so it doesn't burn quite as much fuel. So keep an eye on Wouter de Bruin, who's my teammate in the Historics, because he certainly is going to be making a go at it. He's pretty fast the last couple times we've seen him out in that car, so I think he's got a good shot.
Why have they gone and put a wing on the back of the X8?
The short and tall of it is they developed the car with a certain set of regulations in WEC, and then WEC updated things basically with the way that the hybrid is allowed to deploy power to the front tires, and they nerfed it. And funny backstory, that actually came about because of George Angelidis' guys, Honda, over in Acura, because they wanted to push for it. I don't know why. So that way, if cars came into IMSA or something, there wouldn't be some kind of advantage. I don't know why, because they're not using the hybrid to deploy to the front. So somehow that caused the regulations to be, well, we're not going to let you use as much torque at the front. You can't use those big chunky wheels as effectively. So every advantage that they were going to have basically just got killed almost right as the car was released. So they did everything they could. George would certainly say there's a lot of reliability problems with the car, which there are. But in terms of just outright pace, they've basically had to shift the center of pressure back to the back of the car to be able to get grip, because they can't utilize it the way that the car was originally designed with those original specifications. So that's why they did it. Like I said, it's polarizing. I feel bad for Peugeot because I think that they're really going for a very cool concept that really could have worked, and it just didn't play out that way.
So, Peugeot itself, if you want to get a hold of anybody, is George Angelidis, courtesy of the CMS Discord, at georgeangelidis.com, and you can go check him out on that one. Right, you wait till I get hold of him. They're now forced to put an horrible little... It don't even look right on the car. I'm not going to lie. If anybody hasn't seen pictures, Google the Peugeot 9X8 wing, and you'll see it. It spoils a perfectly nice looking car on that one. Rosto, okay, so we saw the wonderful world of what was going on Thursday, right? There was, it was very interesting, wasn't it? Let's put it that way. What's your chances here this evening? Now, you said you're using NARS as a test, and for today, come on, am I going to see Ross up the front?
Almost certainly not. I mean, there could be something that helps us out towards the end of the race. The NSX is a real handful here. I mean, David Junt's been able to get it up there. I think that's in the top 5. He was able to qualify. So, I mean, I know that he's even struggling on pace with it. It's just it really likes to burn its tires through these like slow medium corners. So the rears kind of fall away, and so you just have to keep backing off. Whereas the other cars, they kind of keep the tire wear more balanced. So I'm probably not going to get up there unless things happen. There certainly is the attrition factor, which I always root for. And there are certainly a lot more hypercars to contend with during this race. And we didn't see so much of the crazy wreckfest, I guess you could say, that often comes about with a lot of online races for Indianapolis. I don't know why. There's nothing inherent about this track that makes it where you're going to, I guess, expect that type of behavior. But I guess you just do have a lot of quick sections and everything. And folks start to get a little more comfortable throwing cars up the inside more and more until, you have some problems. So I would say that we're probably going to see a little bit more of that chaos during this race. I always hope not for that, but it's probably going to happen. And certainly as the rain comes in, it's going to make a difference.
Okay, going forward, talking about server updates, of course, there was some updates come out this week. The Ferrari 499 refuel rate changed. I saw the Fracchini, same, the refuel rate. Peugeot 9X8 decreased the fuel consumption by 5% and the refuel rate. Toyota GR010 refuel rate changed as well. Now, you mentioned the Aston and you didn't touch it.
Correct. Yes, the Aston didn't change for this race, but it is being looked at as we go into the next round.
Let me ask you, put you on the spot now. Is it the car or is it the driver? What I mean is we BOP cars, right, to level them out, but obviously, you've got to look at the situation with it. Is it the car situation or is it just William Schittling absolutely flying along in the car where poor old Johnny Gutierrez in the Ford Mustang can't keep up?
Well, I mean, it certainly, I guess, it doesn't make it easy to distinguish a lot of those factors, like you're saying, because you do have a lot of your really fast guys going into the Aston Martin to begin with. So there is quite a bit there that needs to be reviewed. We obviously do have a lot of testing and KPIs that we can look at internally to really understand what's going on there and truly understand the breakdown, lap by lap, how the cars are performing, and then whatever the aggregate information is there, whatever the emergent properties are of the car, we can really look at that and understand, okay, here are what the deltas are telling us. Here's where we're really seeing the cars advance, like what metric, what mechanic it is that's part of it, that's allowing it to go so much faster within those sets of circumstances. And then, you know, you can come to a conclusion on that and try and make very small adjustments. You don't want to do too much, because it does not take much at all to really upset the balance of performance or do something to the car where, you know, you think that you're just going to, like, you know, cut it down maybe a couple tenths per lap, and then suddenly it becomes undrivable after, you know, 4 or 5 laps, because you've changed the center of pressure. And so now, like, a lot of this, so we have to be very careful with how we apply those changes. You know, it's very methodical. The team does a very good job. You know, they go out and they'll do their own testing. They'll grab certain ways that the cars are set up, and they'll look at that, and they'll check it out, and they'll just make sure that whatever they're applying to it makes sense across the board. You know, you go back to all of your historical information, you look at things, you take as many variables into account as you can, and then you act on it, and you do your very best to try and get the cars as close as you can.
All right. Okay, that's fair enough. It's like nerfing the Red Bull, isn't it, in real life? You know what I mean? Sticking Max in a Haas. You know.
Yeah, it's.
You're gonna get. I think for me, as much as BOP is essential, and I understand it, it just sometimes is a little bit annoying, because the poor old guys at the front have been driving out their socks all season, in a car when others have got the option to choose that car and they don't. Right? It's like anything. You use the fastest thing like the people around you are doing. It's the same in first-person shooters. It's the same in anything else. That if you want to be competitive, you've got to use this thing. But I know, obviously, you're trying to promote variation across the field. It's just obviously a little bit tough for the guys that have put the work in. Bonica, Gutierrez, Schlittling, as I say, all in the car, that have been working on the car, doing the car, setting the car up, getting the car ready, running it to their driving style. And then all of a sudden, you guys come along and say, right, you're not having that anymore.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a consideration. And I mean, there's throughout the entire season, just like you have in real life, the adjudicating body has certain ideas of how it wants to try and make changes based on the information that they have at their disposal. And then you have the teams and drivers that come back, and, you know, they'll gripe one way or another, whether they're seeing themselves as benefiting or getting detracted from with those changes. And so it's round robin, and you know, you can't please everybody for sure, but you do everything you can to try and be as fair as you possibly can. And I feel like most of the drivers have, you know, they've gone along with it. You know, they've given really good feedback, really good criticisms here and there, which, you know, we're taking into not only this year, but as we look at the cars for next year. So, you know, we're doing everything we can to make sure that the competition is still fair. And like I said, not making huge changes to the cars, so that way you have, like, you know, you see the Aston Martins come, you know, Road Atlanta, they're suddenly just down at the bottom of the chart by 5 seconds. You know, that's not something we want to do either. But, you know, it's a methodical approach, and, you know, we're going to do everything we can just to keep it all fair.
All right. My next question is then, and I'm going to put you on the spot even more than I have already. Why now? We're 3 rounds away from the end. Why don't you just leave them? Let them get to the end.
Because you always want to make sure that you're equalizing the cars. I mean, we use these seasons with CMS with the cars, and basically they're, you know, I say beta, but I mean, it's kind of a loaded term, but they truly are. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be updated, but we use the season to be able to analyze the cars and understand exactly how they work across as many different conditions as possible and equalize for that. Because we want to produce a product, we want to produce a package that is going to be enjoyable, and everyone feels like they can hop into any one of the cars that is in the pack and have an opportunity to win a race at any location, basically.
I do understand that, and I fully get that. You know, I'm just looking at, obviously, you know, some of the people in the championship. Eduardo Bonica's been up there all season. James Walker's been up there all season. I'm just wondering why we're changing them now, when clearly they've been the same throughout the season. Why we're so late on?
Like I said, it's going to be every single race. The data is looked at. It's not really acted on until about every 2 or 3 races, I think is what George said. So it's ongoing for every single round, even going into the final rounds. It's going to be looked at, because if there is an emergent advantage or disadvantage in any one of the cars, it needs to be addressed. And we're very transparent about how and why it's getting addressed. And we talk with the drivers, we go back and forth with the internal testing team, and we just do everything we can to make sure that whatever we're adjusting makes sense to be able to get the cars right on parity with one another.
All right, Ross, I'll stop giving you grief about it now. Yeah, I mean, I've finished putting you on the spot and making you turn into a politician when you're answering my questions on that one. So there we go. Right, Ross, thank you so much for joining me, bud. You've got a couple of minutes left to warm up before you get yourself onto that grid, ready to go. But I think you got to admit, guys, that was a pretty nice, interesting chat with Mr. Ross Smith this week. Ross, have a good one, bud.
Thanks, you guys, and good luck on the broadcast. Hopefully, we'll make it all interesting for you.
I hope so. Well, there you go, Brad. That was our chat with Mr. Smith on that one. Just starting to get on to the grid here as well. We can bring you up the grid whenever it is ready to go, and then we will run you through the order. All right, in pole position, we have got Dan Herlock in first, Dan Kirby in second, and Robert Moling in third, with Mike Bell sitting in fourth. In fifth place, Cameron Barker, then Ben Kesby, Timon Suvic, and Wouter de Bruin round out the top 8 in that lovely X8 as it is at this moment in time. In ninth is Magnus Dahlgren and Jerry Chen, Tony McCoffin and Craig Pullen taking the first in the Hypercar AMS. Moving on, it's Adam Gray, then George Angelidis, Dan Scott, the pro, mixing it down there in 15th with Luke Goodlife down in 16th place. In 17th, it's Eric Monet, then James Meyer and Scar Pope, and then finishing off down in 20th is Benjamin Porteous Heath. Lovely Lambo. 21st is Philippe Ducardi, then we've got William Schiltling in 22nd, Eduardo Bonica in 23rd, and then Johnny Gutierrez rounds out 24th place. 25th is JT Tammy, then David Junt, and then the first of the GT3 AMS in Alan Holden with Eugene Mazura in 28th. In 29th, it is Matthew Overton with Vasilis Kataranakis, and then we've got Jaime Zlecki and James Walker in 32nd place. Ross Smith and Gilles Lalonde round out 33rd and 34th, and then we go into Matthew Bice in 35th, Mike Bice in 36th place. We've got a couple more rows to go. Pierre Moreno 37th, Stephen Bice in 38th, then Maximilian Petrovsky, and then Stephen Miller rounding out the 40 cars. Any more? I believe that is that one. On that one, Brad, an interesting chat, let's be real about it, with Ross there right at the beginning. Didn't give much away, politician all the way maybe, but you got to drill him, you need to know the answers.
Yeah, James, I gotta ask, do you work for a newspaper, news station in your free time? Because, man, you were asking the tough questions and not giving them a break. I did enjoy it, though. It was fun to listen to.
Yeah, there's no pre-read questions here, is there? Let's be real about it, and maybe more people should actually ask the questions that matter and not the questions they want. Anyway, on that one, let's get off that politician subject, because we'll be here all day as these guys are going around turn 12 into 13 here as well. Brad, 100 laps, what do we reckon? How exciting is it going to be?
Well, the real-life race was 6 hours, and BMW won by 1.4 seconds. So I'm expecting something like that to come from these guys in 100 laps. Should be just over about 2 hours, 2.5 hours of racing in total. Depends on how the weather plays into effect. Of course, weather is on the way. As I look at a live radar, it is going to be ugly near the end, but we're coming off, and I think we're getting ready to go here, James. So
yeah, here we go.
Hand it back to you.
Here we go on this one. Dan Herlock's going to lead the way here. It's going to be green. 100 laps of Indy is underway. Don't forget orange zone right the way round into turn 6. But it is Dan Herlock making his way through at the moment. Ben Kesby in second. Simon Suvik in behind that in third as well. As these guys are going to be coming down into turn number 1 here. I seem to be a little bit behind on this one and are doing a great job, but yeah, absolutely flying at the moment. Dan Herlock out in front.
Yeah, and they should be able to hold things together here. Of course, orange zone going all the way through turn 6, so these guys will be able to keep it together. We're going to jump back to the GT3s because our wonderful GT3s coming around. They look like they're getting away with no issues as well, with Mr. Schlichting and the Aston Martin leading things off and keeping things through nice and pretty as you please.
Yeah, going on their way round turn 11 and 12. Dan Kirby still out in front. Herlock tucked in behind him at the moment. Then Robert Moling in behind that as well. The GT3's in the bottom of your right. Schlittling in first place. Eduardo Benica has been so strong this season, out in first as well. Looks like Maximilian Petravki has been off at the side of the circuit there as well, but we'll keep an eye on the hypercars on that one. He's coming round the left-hander, turns 7 and 8, and then just unfortunately loses it and goes into the side of the wall. But it is Herlock and Kirby setting the pace, setting the situation alight at the moment here already on their way round turn number 4.
Yeah, and as they come through, you can see the sky going through, and I've been checking the radar and looking through, trying to do some math. Rain starts in about 30 minutes, so at about 3/4, 45 after, 15 till is when we expect the rain to start. Get a quick replay here. This is the number 499 coming around. What has happened?
Yeah, that's Petrovsky through the right, through the left, and then his back end goes round and he goes into the wall, unfortunately for him. So he does end up going off the side of the circuit there as well. You can see the hypercars in the pink. They're on their way round into turn 12. The right-hander at this moment in time here for the hypercars, and it is still Dan Kirby leading the way. The man is an absolute machine. We'll bring you up the overlay graphics very shortly on the left-hand side. There you go. There is all the timing screens and information you need on that one. But Herlock sitting in second at the moment, trying to close in. Dan Kirby, for me, is like a wild deer. Brad, when you go hunting him, you got to make sure you get him, because if he gets away, you ain't going to win or get yourself eaten tonight, right? So for poor old Dan Herlock in second, Kirby's the deer and he's breaking away from him already.
Honestly, couldn't have said it better myself, James. As they go down and through, Dan Kirby is very consistent. Herlock can push very hard, but the thing is, Dan Kirby will be able to respond to any action you give. And, you know, we always say through, it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. And if anyone is the embodiment of that, it's Dan Kirby and Dan Herlock, because we've seen these guys time and time again be right with each other running through and then not be able to make the pass happen. We'll see as the race goes on how that plays through. Schlichting and GT3s is getting some pressure here from Benica as they're running around through turns 5 and 6. This is going to be a big battle in the GT3s, and this is going to go on every lap for 100 laps.
You know, the scariest thing about this is how tough Benica has been this season in that GT3. He has been incredible. He's been the same in NARS on Thursdays as well. You know, he's just been so impressive on that one. He's now got William Schlittling in there as well, and it's going to be interesting to see how these guys get on. But it looks like poor old Maximilian's having a bit of a rough one. Let's not compound his misery anymore here after we have watched him go round as well. But I think this race between the GT3s is definitely going to be something to watch as well. Down in the GT3 AMS, it looked like Matt Bice has got past, or have we lost Alan Holden? I'm sure Holden was in, wasn't he? We have lost Holden.
Yeah, looks like it, but I'm not sure what's happened. Holden is down quite a few places.
I'm not even showing him on the grid.
I'm showing him 6th, but I'm not 6th in class, and somebody's backwards. It's Maximilian facing the wrong way. This is a race you're going to want to forget about.
Yeah, I found a Holden. He's out there in the 296, sitting in 6th at the moment. Matthew Bice and Pierre Moreno fighting out in the GT3 AMS as well. On your screen at the moment is Eduardo Benica and William Shitling. If we can, the AM battle down below, they're having a right little ding-dong once more as well. But these guys are doing an incredible run on their way round into turn 4 now. Kirby using a game genie, said Kenny Crobes. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing here at Indy. Yes, he's probably not. He's just incredibly quick, unfortunately for you, Kenny, on that moment. As we've got a replay going on our screen. That's a little bit of argy-bargy between Dan Scott there in the with Cameron. I believe it might actually be. Where are you? Oh, Dan Scott. Who was you having a ding-dong with? There he is. Adam Gray in the yellow cars on that one as well, Brad. Very interesting start. Cars really kind of trying to find their feet, and now we've got Dan Kirby heading through traffic.
Yeah, Dan, this is going to be for Dan Kirby the big make or break moment as he starts through traffic. We got a replay here, and this is going to be Selecki just missing the turn. We've seen several drivers run very wide through, use a little bit of the circuit there, get a little bit of a run, but I mean, your time through the grass kind of negates any sort of speed you might get on the speedway section here. Yeah, once traffic starts, this race changes entirely. Any sort of moment that we had here for Kirby to really run away, really solidify, and for Herlock to try to get something going, it's game over now. They will not have a clean lap again the rest of this race, and it's just because of the nature of this circuit. This is not a very wide circuit. It's not very easy to make passes on. It's going to produce some very, very good mixed class battles. As we talk about every single time we come out here in VWSC, you got to watch the mixed class battles.
Yeah, absolutely, I think. And we've got currently at the moment Dan Kirby weaving his way through traffic, which is great to see. We're going to have a look at Mike Bell, I believe. He's there as well. That's Stephen Miller. Oh, patience is a virtue, Mr. Bell. Patience is a virtue on that one. Track limits are plenty. Kicking in on that stage of the situation, but Dan Kirby having a little bit of a hack through the traffic. George Angelidis has just got it all a little bit wrong round the left-hander. Too many beans on the loud pedal, and unfortunately that back end snapped round and he ended up on the grass. As this is back in with JT Tammy in the GT3s at this moment in time, with Davidson tucked him right behind him. We saw that traffic situation playing a plenty here as well, Brad. You know, cars getting all in the way. Mike Bell maybe not being patient. Stephen Miller trying to put a car where he ain't really got room to put a car. You know, it's all going to be very tough, isn't it?
It is, and I'm sitting here watching the drivers, and nobody's settling into a rhythm, it feels like. Nobody's really getting settled into their race, and I have a theory, and I don't know how accurate I am, is we have JT Tammy here on the main screen, and Kirby's in the bottom right there.
Yeah.
But my theory with this, James, and just go with me for a second. This is going to be a good one. We usually race every time we're in VWSC. Here in the modern series, it is usually to a time limit. 90 minutes, 2.24 hours, whatever it may be. We're running a lap count this time. So I think the drivers, it's a little bit different mentality to look up and go, well, I have 60 minutes left. You know, I can do this to this time and do this. To look up and say, I only have 100 laps to make something happen. I've got to get a move on. I've got to do something different. And I think some of the drivers are really miscalculating that out. And we're also adding in rain in just under half an hour by the radar count. So they've also got to keep that in mind. As soon as the rain gets here, this race is, I mean, it's a complete toss-up for what happens. So if you're not comfortable driving in the rain, this is going to be a very bad day for you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well. You know, the worrying of it is how how do we think these guys are going to cope? We're 9 laps down. You know, we've been at this for 26 minutes already. There's a lot of traffic going on. There's a lot of people in and off traffic. A lot of people on and off circuit here as well. Kirby at the same time trying to slice through the field at the moment. He's right behind JT Tammy currently as well. Dan Kirby, dive up the inside, son. There we go. And off goes Dan Kirby as well. That's JT Tammy sitting in 4th. He's got 3 more to go. Johnny Gutierrez, Eduardo Benica, and William Schlichting there is at the front of the GT3s. You know, there's a lot that can happen here, Brad, and I think that's going to be the interesting thing. You know, Dan Herlock now is sitting in 3rd at the moment here with Cameron Barker tucked in behind him.
And Dan Herlock doesn't seem to have pace here around Indy like we're used to him seeing. He's dropped back pretty significantly. And I almost wonder if he's trying to play the strategy game, wait for the rain here, as Cameron Barker is really set up to get a clean pass on him here fairly quickly as they go through the Smile Power Racing driver against the CMS Pro. CMS Pro trying to look through, trying to get through the traffic. Down into turn 7, hard left-hander. And Dan Herlock will hold on for just the moment here. We're going to snake through turns 8 and 9. Go! Man, they are really pushing this here. And Cameron Barker with a little wiggle of the rear end. It's going to give Herlock just a second of movement. And as they continue on here.
Yeah, there's these guys are going to continue to happen. There's a big old off-track with Gilles Lalonde, Ben Kesby, Jaime Zalecki, Matthew Petrovsky, James Walker is in the pits, Petrovsky's in the pits, Daniel Scott got involved in all of this situation with Kesby as well. There was a little bit of a ding-dong down here. There is Ben Kesby. You see him, he arrives late onto the scene. Ooh. There's already people round at that point. So, yeah, there's poor old guys having a little bit, and I think it starts with James Walker over the grass. Oh no, he has contact with Tony McCoffin in a hypercar that puts him round, and Pierre Moreno goes in, and unfortunately everybody else has a little bit of a hit after that, and that puts Walker into the pit lane. Let's see if we can actually pick up on James Walker on this one. There he is. Watch the inside from McCoffin. Boop. Round he goes, puts him into the middle of the traffic, and then bish, bash, boom! So there as well. Nice to see that they're actually on their brakes, concentrating on a yellow flag on that one, Brad.
Yeah, it's good to see drivers with that heads-up awareness. You have to have that level of knowledge here on this track especially. It's narrow. It's, you know, I can't emphasize it, but it really is narrow, and it's very tricky, especially in that section of the track. Somebody goes around, you've got little to no chance to avoid if you are not heads-up driving. So good to see that through. We've got 90 laps remaining here around this track as we go around. Adam Gray here trying to hold off John Mayer in the battle for P3 and Hypercar AMS as they come around. And they have lost a bit of a gap to Shannon Pullen up front, but again, just trying to run consistent in the GT3 battle here, just to keep back up with it. Schlichting, oh, big spin from Adam Gray. Good miss from John Mayer. It's the rear end just giving out.
Yeah, he's kind of sat there, unfortunately, though, for Adam Gray. He's got nowhere to go. He's just going to have to go off the side of the circuit, as he is doing, running down that grass area. And then he's going to go, no. Oh.
He just got very lucky with the tarmac being there.
Oh, hell yeah, he did. But he's come right out in front of Dan Scott. There's another car spinning. There's a GT3 on the right-hand side. That's Pierre Moreno. Moreno got it. Pierre Moreno just got it absolutely all Pete Tong. There was contact with Porteous Heath. Oh, dearie me. This is when we talk about the situation. GT3's washing out. Porteous Heath tries to go round the outside. There was a hypercar who went thudded into the wall there as well. And unfortunately for Moreno, he went round and he went into the pit lane. DNF straight up there for Jaime Moreno. Is that enough? The GT3s, they do wash out. You go round the outside, you are going to be in trouble. Now, one of the things I do want to pick up on Thursday night in NARS, as one car literally come off the final corner, Brad. It almost got grabbed by the wall and got stuck in the wall. And somebody went over the top of it, underneath him, and punched him in the air. there as well. So they need to be a little bit careful. Ross Smith just got that all a little bit wrong, missed his braking point, considering the man did laps on Thursday, and unfortunately nearly went and ruined an absolute Hypercars day on that one. But they've got to be careful, haven't they? You know, here as well. Petrovsky's DNF'd as well, but he was having a rough old time of it as well here, Brad. So a couple of DNFs from Moreno and Petrovsky. There's a couple of people that's having a bit of a rough one. Scott, Smith, Gray, all at the same time, Brad.
Yeah, we've got drivers going off everywhere. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to emphasize one thing. Yeah, this is... Oh... That was one of the Bice brothers keeping away from that one. Wow. And I don't remember. I never remember every race if the Bice brothers are brothers or just family members.
They are.
What they are. But yeah, I'm going to call them Bice brothers. And I'm sure they don't mind. This is without rain, ladies and gentlemen. I want to emphasize this. This is no rain. This is a bone dry track. And we're seeing drivers have some pretty significant difficulties, James. I'm going to phrase it as nice as I can. Pretty significant challenges as they make their way around this circuit. This Indy road course is not easy, and it's not one that I find a lot of drivers keep on the up and up on. And I'm not saying nobody's practiced it, but if you think about, you know, let's talk about some of the big road courses we all know. Circuit Spa. Everybody knows Spa and can be pretty comfortable on Spa in their preferred car. Daytona. Everyone knows Daytona and can be comfortable in Daytona. Watkins Glen. That's a track that pretty much everyone knows and can be comfortable in their preferred car. This is not a track that most people keep very on the up and up. So I'm curious if anything that we're seeing here is just from this not being a driver's preferred track, and it does take a slightly different driving style just because of the nature and the way it's built. It's very flat. There's no camber. It's flat, built on flat infield. It takes a different driving style to what we see at most other road courses.
This isn't loved.
No.
That's the thing. This ain't loved. People don't put Indy on the calendar. It's slippery. It's flat as crazy. It's you know, very meh in conjunction with a normal race circuit. Stay on the inside of a GT3 round that corner, Ben, and you'll make it round there. You dive on the outside again, it's going to wash out, and next time you won't be so lucky. But it's flat, it's slippery, it's meh. The people don't do it. They just do not practice this circuit. Why would you? It's not on a calendar. People don't use it on a calendar. You know, yeah, it's on a real life calendar, and I understand that. Why, I can't figure it out either, but you know, it's just one of them tracks, unfortunately, on that way. But it's kind of separated the battles up the front. Kirby out in front by 3.3, Craig Pullen and the AMS out in front by 5 seconds, Slichting out in front by 3.6, and then Matthew Bryce out in front by 9. So yeah, you know, it spreads the cars out quite easily, as we saw on Thursday.
All of these drivers are very talented. I want to preface my next statement with all of these drivers are very talented in their own regard in these cars, and they drive much better than I do. Raw talent does not eat practice. Cameron Barker is now past Herlock. Herlock, a driver we're used to seeing up front. I would be curious to know which one of these guys practice more, honestly. And I do think some of it is coming down to, you know, this track isn't loved, this track isn't on the calendar, it's not practiced near as much as other tracks are, and I think we're seeing the effect of that. I think we're seeing the effect of some of these guys came in and said, you know what, if I'm going to pull an upset this week, it's going to be through here, so they pushed it a little harder, and I think we're seeing that, but I think we're also seeing the nature of cars don't like driving on flat tracks, James. I'm sorry.
No, you're not telling me, this is the problem, you're not telling me anything I didn't already know. Brad, when you get circuit, the most exciting thing, Dan Herlock keeps going around the outside of Gilles Lalonde like he has been as well. Further down the order, you are going to be in trouble. So we'll have a look on that one. Scott Pope go past Monet. If you pick up Herlock and Adam Gray going through traffic, they are literally in the mix at the moment. Dan Herlock is trying to slice his way through past with JT Tammy in there as well. So there's a lot of cars coming through. There is Dan Hurlock now, gets it all a little bit side. That's Matt Bice gets through. Now he's got the car in front of him as well. Ross Smith, is he going to be able to get him? He's forcing the situation. And the problem is when they force the situation, they end up getting it all wrong, Brad. You've got to be patient.
Yeah, but you can't afford to be patient right now, James, because the rain is coming. We are less than 20 minutes away from the first drops of rain hitting this track. And as soon as that happens, if you're not in a position where you're comfortable, and again, just to compound on this whole idea of this isn't a loved track, you throw some rain on this track, half of these drivers are going to throw their race out the window. It's going to be a really, really bad time for everyone involved. Benica is in the pits for something.
He's just pitted in. He had a very slow moment at one point, did Eduardo Benica, and it looks like he may have just spun the back end round. He did, and he hit into a Good Life. He hit into Luke Good Life. Good Life was spun, and Benica unfortunately just come around the corner, and Good Life was there. So we'll see if we can bring that one up. And ever since then, his car he's steering his right hand down as well. So unfortunately for Eduardo Benica, he did hit into Luke Goodlife on that one and ended up in the pits. I understand what this is. Look, he just literally he comes on the left hand side. Luke Goodlife's there. Oops, and
Ooh.
There we go. So yeah, and then he's steering his right hand down after that, and at the same time. But what okay, so as per the radar, we know rain is on its way, right? We're looking at about 20 minutes. We're going to get rain. I understand that. Lots of places to pass have been indeed, so drivers get a bit more. I understand that, Kenny. But what I don't get is if you're rushing to make your overtake in the rain, what difference is it going to make? You can either drive in the rain or you're going to sink like a kid that can't swim. There really ain't no in between, right? The rain ain't going to give you a little cuddle and make you feel good about yourself. You know, you've got to go out. You can either drive it or you drown. So pushing through as they have been at this moment in time is not going to make a difference to their position if they can't drive in the rain, because you're going to be off. You're going to be sliding like Bambi on ice. You're going to be taking swims in the ocean and hitting the bottom with your head because you can't do it. It ain't going to make a difference whether you push through or not. It's 100 laps. You know, we've been going nearly 45 minutes and we're only on lap 19. You know, there's a long way to go. So I think at the end of the day, you can make positions and be sensible about it. I don't feel you need to do and get overly aggressive with the situation. We've got two DNFs, and one of them, poor old Pierre Moreno, was not his fault. Benjamin Portier-Heath round the outside of the last corner, the GT3 washed out, bang, straight into him. But that's common sense. Everybody knows that. You know, we're right down the calendar, Brad. They should know that GT3 washes out by now.
They should. That's the thing is, again, you know, you're not saying anything to me that I don't disagree with. They really should know these things. We started this season so long ago. You got to remember, we're round 11 of 13, and we started this season forever ago. I don't even remember the exact date, but here we go, January 13th. We started this race this season in January, and here we are. And it's just one of those things where it's like, as the season is gone, some of the drivers certain things haven't clicked, which has been interesting to me to really watch. Like, don't pass on the outside of a GT3. That's something that I feel like we should have learned round 1, round 2.
I agree. And the thing is as well, we'll see if, obviously, for Portier, see if anything comes of it. Magnus Dahlgren's into the pits. Hypercars start coming through now as well. Timon Suvic into the pit lane. Adam Gray is also into the pits as we continue to watch the battle with Matty Overton and Eugene Lejeune. This is for 5th and 6th in the GT3 Pro class. And you can see David Shunt in front. He's having a nice little battle with JT Tammy as well. So some great action throughout the GT3s. Adam Gray's in the pits. Obviously, Dahlgren's in, Suvic's in, Mike Bell's in. Suvic's now out, and Adam Gray is now on their way out as well. But we're on lap 20. We've got 81 laps to go here at Indy. This is going to be a long race, Brad.
It is, and again, I think drivers are overthinking it at this stage because they know the rain is coming. and they're looking at a lap counter. They're not looking at time. Oh, guys, let's breathe a little bit here, diving into turn 7. Let's breathe here, Chen Mayer. Let's get through this with George Angelides right behind. Let's breathe through. There we go. A little bit of patience around, but I think the drivers are, again, I think it's a little bit different of a mindset when you're driving to a lap count and not a timer, along with the rain incoming. I think it's just creating a whole cluster of problems that we wouldn't see otherwise.
Yeah, John Mayer there, currently in the mix as well. He's running alongside James Walker in the GT3 with Smith in front of him. Angelides settling in behind him there. Smith's running slightly a little bit wide. He's going to come back onto the track there. Looks like he almost did dink the wall. Mayer now making his way through. Angelides trying to go up the right hand side. Is he going to have that inside line down into turn 1? It's going to be a send and a half from Angelides, but he did send it through, jeopardized his exit. Miles looking at coming at him as well, going around turn 2. Nothing there that Mayer could do this time around. George Angelides doing a great job right down into turn 1.
Yeah, Angelides being very patient there. Very, very good move into turn 1. That is what you need to do in that situation. Get that move done, get it clean, and get away. As we have 80 laps remaining here, George Angelides now pulling a very quick gap on John as they continue through. Back in the background, you can see a GT3 of a Mustang that is just getting passed through and around. We continue on, and lots of hypercars getting into the pits here. GT3s continue to roll, but hypercars are all taking their first pit stops, their fuel. So every 20-ish laps, we're going to see hypercars come around, which is a good thing to note in our head.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should start seeing them again on lap number 40 there as well. So keep an eye out for this one and seeing how we end up. We've got Davidson and JT Tammy there battling away in the GT3 Pros, sorry. Hypercar arms are fairly spread out. It's just Craig Pullen having a look at John Mayer, but Davidson, JT Tammy having a fight here with the Hypercar currently of Wouterbrunn in the 9X8 as it should look like, but due to George's discussions, there is now a very awful flat wing sticking out the back of the 9X8 for the season, which is not an ideal way. Craig Bullen in the pits, Angelides in the pits, Molin's just got in as well, Dan Kirby's sitting in third, but of course he's been in the pits as well. Here, Brad, it's going to be a bit manic until we get the first sort of pit cycle out the way.
Yeah, this is the point where anything you thought you knew that was going on, just throw it out the window and buckle in, because you really have to wait until the pit cycle until you can really get a good idea of who's where and who's what. And even then, it's still going to be a little bit of chaos, because then you start mixing in tire strategies and fuel strategies, and you got to wonder, who's taking the fresh tires, who's staying on the tires they're on, who's trying to, run through, and what's the game plan for them. I'm wondering, again, with this impending rain, GT3s, what's their thought going to be? Because I worry, looking through, that they are going to be right at the time of needing a pit stop before they can do anything, because their pit stop time is around 30 to 35 minutes is what we were told. And if you do the math on that, that is right about the time that we should start seeing the first drops of rain. So then they're going to be under the problem of what do they do tire-wise and what do they do strategy-wise, and it's just going to make a whole mess in and of itself.
Yeah, it will, but I think that's the joys of racing, isn't it? I think that's the situation that these guys have got to contend with. They've got to be obviously fully aware on the situation and aware on the tyre choices as well, and that looks like Dan Scott again in the 037 machine going around, unfortunately for him this time around as well. But rain is part of racing, and if these guys can't handle the rain, well, get some armbands. That's all I can safely say on that one. Don't worry guys, Cameron Parker is still not in the pits. He is out of the pits at the moment. I know there's a pit lane situation going on up there, but we will correct that, and you will see that he is actually out of the pits. JT Tammy and David Shunt having a nice little battle further down as well. Where are we looking for battles at the moment? Because we're kind of in the GT3s because the hypercars are very spread out here, Brad. What's the situation at this moment in time? Are we waiting for the hypercars to come back together? Are we waiting for the hypercar Rams to get into the mix? Because at the moment, all the action seems to be down in the GT3s until we get up to Barker and Molan.
I think for the hypercars, this is what it's going to be because it's GT3 traffic playing in. And I think until we get a couple of guys bunched up behind GT3s, I think the hypercars are just where they're at. I think this is the moment where things have spread out and settled down. We're hitting what we traditionally hit after the first 10 to 15 minutes. And we're hitting that mid-race lull, that sort of middle moment where things spread out, everybody's running to a delta, everybody's trying to run long-term for the race. And then we're going to hit the final little bit where things compress. Now, again, some luck is going to come into this race, and I think we can kind of throw all that out the window, and things are going to get crazy. But for the GT3s, they haven't really hit that mid-race lull, and they never traditionally do because they have the case of hypercars just blaring beside them, side by side, 2 wide, 3 wide. You know, you've got to be very heads up. You never get to get into your rhythm and really be setting lap after lap after the first 4 or 5 laps. You get into the point where it is driving in your mirror more than anything, and you end up with this situation like we have right now, you know, where drivers are very close together, a couple of gaps start to open, but you have cases like JT Tammy and David Junt that are right here with each other, that are going to stay right here with each other for a significant time, because every time one of them starts to make a run, they've got to watch the hypercar behind and make sure they don't get steamrolled by a hypercar who hasn't taken the half second to wait till they're out of the corner to get past. So that is where we're at in this race. That's the stage we're at, and it's the stage we're going to stay at for a pretty significant amount of time because hypercars are going to get slowed down trying to get past GT3s. GT3s can't hit the rhythm because of the hypercars, and again, especially with this flat track, there's no sort of extra opportunity for anything. It is very just, you get what you get. And we run through, and we'll continue on here. We have Molan and Barker that have closed up together. This gap going through very close, but look again, they're going through GT3s.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a mix there as well. Cam Barker is in there, Robert Moling in there, JT Tammy's in there. I believe that is John Mayer behind, actually it's David Shunt, I should say, behind JT there, but Barker and Molan having a right little go at each other. I believe that in front of him is actually a back marker, and I think at the moment that is John Mayer in the Hypercar AMS, who's just being lapped as well. He's just going to end up, he basically went round and just missed William Schitling, did John Mayer. So Mayer has taken a spin for the worst, should we say, and unfortunately he's put himself around. He's now been lapped. Robert Molan goes in deep into the corner. Barker's going to have a look up on the inside line there as well, coming out of turn 11 through 12 into 13. They're coming into 12, the right-hander going around 13 the left. Molan, Barker still there once more. They're having a right little ding-dong. Molan sniffing the fumes coming out of Barker's rear end at this moment in time. Here we go on to that start-finish line. Barker's going to go once more. Is Molan going to be able to get the overtake? He's going to look for the draft down into turn 1. Molan settles in behind him, not going to get it done down into turn 1, but he had a right old go, Brad, and we do love a good tryer.
Yeah, you know, the effort's there, and it shows me that Molan is very quick and is going to be able to put some pressure as we jump on with a replay, running wide. This is going to be Scott running wide, and
That's had a great
late lunge
front.
up the inside. Yeah, hard late
He's not
lunge.
stopping that.
What? I mean,
He didn't stop it, dude. He was well deep. You know what I mean?
I'm all about a late lunge. I do like a late lunge, a good Daniel Ricciardo lunge, but man, you still have to stop the car as Scott has now DNF. He's Daniel Scott is now gone from our hypercar game. So 2 037s were on track. Now it's just one of the 037 Alpine hypercars remaining of Robin Moling, who is losing gap to Cameron Barker as we're coming up onto the main straight here.
Yeah, Dan Scott had a bit of a rough one, right? He was in there with Maximilian Petrovsky. Neither of them could get on with the circuit. They were, their name popped up on the error board quite often on the right-hand side. For Scott, I'm not going to blame him. If you can't get on with a circuit, don't punish yourself. It ain't worth the stress. Pretend race cars around a pretend circuit. It ain't worth the grief, right? Pack it in, go and sit down, get your blanket, grab your dinner, watch it on TV, get a beer if you need one, and then relax, because at least then you haven't got the stress of going through it. And as we say that at the moment, Stephen Miller in the Hypercar or GT3 AMS is in the pit lane currently at the moment, and I think it might have been Tony McCoffin going off the side of the circuit, and it was coming into turn one. His back end went. Kesby in the mix as well, but McCoffin just gets all loose on that one. And unfortunately, Matoni is another man in the Hypercar Pros that's also had a bit of a rough one so far, Brad. But Craig Pullen out in the Hypercar AMS at the moment, pulling away quite easily.
Yeah, and that's really what he's going to be looking for in the Hypercar AMS, is for Pullen to just pull away and continue consistent. We watched Mike Bell and Ben Kesby here. They had a good little scrap down the front stretch here, and Kesby now up ahead of Mike Bell. Mike Bell here in 9th place, just trying to stay smooth and consistent as they go, and we're not even third race distance yet, so keep that in mind as we continue through. George Angelidis seems like he's on a flyer. He just set the fastest lap there with his outlap in Hypercar AMS by a pretty considerable margin. Gotta say, about a tenth of a second up there on our race leader, on our Hypercar AM leader, Craig Pullen, who had a 1:17.7, and George was able to pull a 1:17.6. So George Angelidis, after his outlap, with a bit of a renewed little pace here, and we'll see what he can do to capitalize, but he's got 15 and a half seconds to make up on Pullen.
Yeah, Lars, is it a paid mod? It's not. When you join the league, they give you links to everything you need. Tony McLean, what classes are in the race? They're on the left-hand side on the left-hand side of your timing tower of that one. Hypercars are in there, Hypercar AMS, LMGT3s and GT3 AMS as well. So Tony, there you go. Some of the cars you've got in the Hypercars: Porsches, Alpines, Peugeot 9X8s are in there, Lamborghinis are in there, Acuras are in there. In the GT3s, Acuras, Aston Martins, Fords, Chevrolets, Porsches, Ferraris. We've got them all. Dude, we've got them all. There isn't one thing that we're not covering on that one. So, yeah, all the basic 2024 cars that are a WEC are in this series. So, there we go. On that one, Tumon Suvic in 6th place at this moment in time, with Wout de Bruin in the 9X8 without the wing in behind him as well. And, beautiful car with a 9X8. Do you know, the thing is, right, I've just had the bug in my ear speak to me, and I don't really care. I like the car as it is. I like the car as it is.
I don't know. I'm gonna be very wary of what I say based on what the bug in the ear has now just said that the ladies and gentlemen who are watching the stream cannot hear.
Squashed, Brad. Don't worry about it. Oh, that one. You know what I mean? You just put your foot on the head and they ain't saying nothing for a while. So I'm not worried about that one there as well. And if the bug carries on, I'm just going to press a mute button. So there we go. If you go down to Johnny Gutierrez, there was like a 5-car Hypercar GT3 battle going on right about now. Gutierrez is in there, Stephen Miller's in there, the Hypercars and David Schutz in there, John Mayer is all in that mix at the same time. And I think Dan Herlock's even in this little situation. He is as well. There was like 5 of them all together. Oh, blimey. Herlock tries to go around the outside on that one. But Timon Suvic and Wout de Bruin on the screen at this moment in time there as well. It's just a little bit of a highlight of what's going on in and around the rest of the circuit. Luke Goodlife is in the pit lane, but he's another one that obviously got bumped in a little bit of an accident he had, where he was sat in the middle of the circuit, which forced Eduardo Benica to go into the pit lane. 31 laps, Brad, 70 to go here.
Yeah, we are just now approaching that third race distance as we go through, and we're seeing, I feel like it was just 5 laps ago you asked about things spreading out, and it was spreading out. Now it's starting to crunch back up here. Cameron Barker in second place, 1.2 seconds ahead of Robin Mulling. And yes, this was inverted recently, so they have managed to swap positions, go through. This is the battle for P2, but 4.5 seconds they need to make up to Dan Kirby, and Dan Kirby just being nice and smooth and consistent as we continue on here and run through up down the main straight. Cameron Barker, Robin Mulling are continuing along as we try to find out there in the bottom right exactly what happened to get Cameron Barker ahead of Robin Mulling up in the main screen. This is live action. Cameron Barker up the inside of one of the Bice brothers.
Yeah, I think there was a massive traffic situation there, and unfortunately, it looks like Barker cleared Molin, and he just got stuck at the wrong time there for Robert Molin. The situation is always going to happen on this circuit. You can see on the track map there as well. You've got literally it's lit up like the Christmas tree in Leicester Square at the moment. There's colours all the way through: the pink, the blue, the green, and the yellow. So what more can we ask for her as well? Accra have a report, rain starting in 9 minutes. Yeah, we are literally following exactly the same thing, Kenny. So be aware that is what we've got coming at the moment. Yeah, well, we're a little bit in the mix at the moment because I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, Kenny. You say 9, mine says it's gone back out to 44. I'm the same, so I don't know. We'll see what happens once more as well. Adam Gray has just spun it round and into turn 1, unfortunately for him. He's just gone round as well. But this is Cameron Barker on your screen at this moment in time here, Brad. Doing a good job trying to open up from Robert Molin.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job trying to open things up and close things up as well at the same time. He's doing very well to stay nice and smooth and consistent. All of our leaders have a pretty comfortable margin, and I would say that Kirby is probably the most under pressure. Looking at the radar, and I'll tell you this again, just because I am from Kentucky, and this is something that I am somewhat familiar with. I think part of why the radars are disagreeing and things are confused a little bit, and we're getting mixed times on when this rain's going to start, what's going to happen, is because usually the weather comes the complete opposite way. Usually it comes west to east, but because of the tropical storm, tropical depression that is currently sitting over that southwest Kentucky area, everything's spinning backwards to where it used to. It's going east to west, and that is not normal for this region of the U.S. It is usually west to east is how the weather moves. So I think it's really hard to tell what's happening because everything's backwards to how it should be. Nothing is really flowing the same way. Nothing's going the same way of what it traditionally does. So it's very hard to tell. And talking of backwards, and yes, I just stole that transition perfectly from Mr. Paul Glover. Here is a good case of backward from Adam Gray.
Yeah, that's what we...
Turn 1.
Yeah, I mentioned that a little bit earlier on. We've lost Eric Monet. Eric Monet is a DNF there. And, Mike Bison, David Shunt had a little bit of contact. Did Mike go round? He did as well. So maybe we'll try and have a look for that one as Johnny Gutierrez and David Shunt having a nice little bit of a fight in second in the GT3s on that one. No BMWs M4s racing this weekend. Am I the only one? Yes, Paul Reyes, you are. You're the individual. You are the one and only. Driving in the BMW GT4 there as I give you a little bit of a serenade as Johnny Gutierrez and David Shunt continue to fight on.
Yeah, I'm really shocked we don't see more mixes in terms of what cars are on track. We had the hard conversation of BOP earlier, as you did, as we get a replay here. GT3's not playing nice with each other here.
Yeah, David Shunt and Bice having a little bit of a ding-dong.
Yeah, not playing nice with each other at all, and then Bice catching the bad end of it, going around. I thought he was going to catch it and hold on to it and, just drift a little bit, but unfortunately not the case, and things hooked up. Now Johnny Gutierrez half a second ahead of David Junt as they go through, and he'll continue to, try to fight that through. Mustang trying to hold nice and consistent. Barker is catching the race leader of Kirby. So we might not be done with a battle here in Hypercar Pros. Dan Kirby losing a little bit of pace as we continue.
Yeah, however, for Barker, he has just gone through the GT3s. Oh, who is that? That's Katarinakis and Alex Holden having a nice little ding-dong with Ross Smith down in the mix as well. But yeah, he's gone back out to 4.5. It was down to 2.5 until the traffic. So Kirby, you know, listen, right, and we can sit here and go, the gap's coming down, the gap's coming down. It is coming down, but let's not be let's be realistic. Who's in front? You know, the Iceman, the Kimi Räikkönen of interviews, the man he's got a frozen heart. He drives like it's on ice. You know, the car's just in his hands, just unbelievable. It's Dan Kirby. So, you know, let's be real about it, Brad. It don't matter. Kirby's out in the lead, and I think at the moment he's looking unstoppable.
He might be unstoppable. But however,
yeah, Brad, go for it.
See, now you and Paul both putting pressure on me, and I know nobody can hear Paul but me and you. But man, here's the thing. I want to see the rain. I want to see the rain. That is where I'm at with it. Is I want to see the rain before anything else happens, because I don't care how well you can drive on a dry track. I want to see the rain, and that is really where I'm at with it. And as I keep checking the weather, it keeps changing minute by minute. So what I'm going to tell you is when it starts raining on the sim here, that is when it'll start raining. We'll see when that actually decides to happen.
Yeah.
It may be never at this rate. I'm starting to question if the rain will actually hit, or if we've managed to just put that fun little circle above this Indianapolis Motor Speedway virtually, and we're just not going to worry about rain at all this race. I'm wondering.
I was thinking the same thing, and that was it as well. Because every time I look at the actual weather, it's going out. It ain't coming in. You know, it was 44 minutes. It's only down to 40, and I'm sitting there thinking, 40 minutes. We're going to be about 20 laps possibly from the end here, depending on how quick they can get round. Are we actually going to see it at all? We might have hyped up a weather report that may never come. You know what I mean? Start the conspiracy. Oh, before on that one. You know, it's in the mix, isn't it? It's like Paul Glover. He almost gets to the end, but he just never quite finishes there. Wow. So Alan Holden and Ross Smith on that one.
All right, I'm going to come in and save this one for a minute. We're lap 37 of 101 as we continue along. David Junt here, trying to go the who's off the track there. There's a hypercar that just said, adios, see you later. I don't need to make the turn. I'm just going to go through the gravel and go around. And yeah, that's probably not the move we want to make here. David Junt, JT Tammy battling things out as they have hypercars snaking their way through as we continue down the front stretch. It's really interesting to see how spread out things have gotten, though. I really thought things would be a lot closer, a lot more competitive than what they are, but yet again, GT3 is really proving to be the staple of the battle as we continue on. We're going to get another replay here as we go through. This is what hypercars are dealing with. I talked about this earlier with hypercars having a big challenge of getting through GT3s and GT3s mirror driving all the way through. This is what this is. We're riding on board here, and this is how you have to get around traffic. It is not a simple case at all. At all is it simple as we go through. You got to be patient. You got to think about it. Watch the Ferrari in front. Find your way through. Oh, I'm going to peek the outside. You better stay down low, and I'm going to peek the outside when I know a GT3 is going to wash up. Doesn't always work out for you, but there it is. Now we're flat down the main straight. Dive to the inside here. That is going to be, I believe, Ross Smith to the outside. Dive to the inside of him and go around. And now we're going to hard brake turn one. That is a good way to navigate your way through traffic. You got to be a little patient. You might lose a couple seconds there, but it's better to do that and survive and get through another day and not be on the side of the track yelling and saying, what were you doing, GT3, and have to watch from the sidelines the rest of the race as we continue along here. Lap 39 of 101. We're not too far from half distance here, James.
No, nearly almost there. Jerry Chan is having a nice little bit of a battle with Scar Pope further down. They've just got weaving their way through some traffic as well. Scar Pope in that Lamborghini. Oh, that one. What has Mr. Smith been up to? Oh, is this a hypercar giving him some love, should we say? Or is he? No, he is going to get tapped. Is he being? I can't tell if he was being pushed there.
it is hard to tell. I kind of want to say yes, but it's really hard for me to tell at the same time. So,
oh no, he didn't. He got missed. We almost put the blame on Timon Subic, but he got missed. Smith was losing it already there, and he literally did miss him. If we go on a nose of Timon Subic or in the cockpit, you'll see how close that actually was there for Timon Subic. Oh, Kirby! Yay. That could have ended very, very badly. But now you've got Barker in the mix there as well. He's got to come through these three GTs that are fighting out on your screen. You know, for Cameron Barker, he's got a bit of a mission now because there's three GT3s in front of him. George Angelidis is there, JT Tammy, David Jun is also in this, and Stephen Bice as these guys going down. Look at the nose of Timon Subic. Watch Smith's back end on the right hand. He starts going out and then he catches the bump, and then you'll see that back end just start coming round. It starts going in. Oh, we've got a long way back here. Hold on. Let's get him into the chicane. There you go. There's the bump. There's the end. There's the end. And as he braked. Oh! That was some stunning driving from Timon Subic there to avoid the back end of them ones. But we're back on board with David Shutt and JT Tammy. Still having a nice little bit of a mixture of a fight. Yuji Mazur and Eduardo Benica are scrapping it out further down. That's a on an all Aston Martin battle further down on that one. And as I say, Jerry Chen and Scarpo were having a battle, but now traffic has come into it and Jerry's lost about 6.5 seconds. So yeah, lots going on over the racetrack at the moment. Minutecast has been showing light rain for the last 10 minutes. Maybe plug-in isn't working correctly. No, to be honest with you, it's not, because at the moment they're still all dry, and Acureva for me is still on 40 minutes, I believe, unless it's gone down. Oh, it says now 4 minutes. Oh, so that's gone quite quick.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
10 laps was the quickest 40 minutes of my life.
Yeah, that has changed quite significantly. So yeah, we are possibly gonna really start seeing some things, but it is gonna be very, very light for a very, very brief moment.
I mean, we'll be small, we'll be small anyways on the little bit of rain, won't it, Brad? You know, you're only going to get a little dribble, I think, coming in very, very shortly anyway. So, you know, we'll see what happens, Brad, I think.
Yeah, we'll see how this race plays on here and where the rain goes through. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request a new voice for Paul Glover, if that is an option, as we continue on this race. 60 laps to go officially, 2.8 seconds. Dan Kirby is in the lead of Cameron Barker. Pullen in the lead of Hypercar EMs by 17. Schlichting in the lead of GT3s by 15. And Bice is ahead of Bice by 33 seconds. So plenty of good runs. We haven't shown a lot of Mr. Pullen here. Craig Pullen ahead of George Angelidis, so let's give him some proper screen time here. 17 seconds in the lead in Hypercar EM, hasn't set a foot wrong yet, and we don't believe in the commentator's curse at JP Broadcasting, so no harm, no foul about acknowledging how good of a race he's had, huh, James? If he wrecks in the next 5 laps, I do not want to hear a thing.
All messages to Brad and Dalton there as well. No, Craig's, the thing is, he's almost reminded me of like a little silent ninja. You know what I mean? He ain't done a lot, then all of a sudden he's just popped up and gone, oh, I'm here, boys, I'm going to go through now. And then that's kind of what exactly he's done. You know, we didn't really pick up on him before. He's just gone about his business, and then all of a sudden, he's now up in the lead of the Hypercar Rams in that beautiful, reminds me of a Jamaican-esque reggae livery, but it's got Chinese writing on the back, so it's probably not that on that one. But I think he's done an amazing job. How far he'll get, I don't know. He's just gone past Ben Kesby. However, Craig has just gone into the pit lane. So we'll see where he comes out now in conjunction with that pit stop on that one. But yeah, Eric Monet, Darren Scott, Pierre Moreno, and Maximilian Petrovsky are all out currently at this moment in time. And we've got rain incoming in 1 minute, apparently, to the AccuWeather. And that is what it's saying. Strange, I'm seeing different weather Kenny, can't answer your question on that one, bud. I'll put the link up. Yeah, I'll put the link in YouTube chat for you, Kenny, and you can click on what we're following there as well. Yeah, Pullen is yes on that one. Yes, on that one. And Craig Pullen, Angelin, Zuvik, Chen in there, Benjamin Boyazif, and Cameron Barker in there as well, Brad. Do you know, it's like being at a schizophrenic party here, isn't it, in this booth? Do you know what I mean? You're never quite sure who I'm supposed to be answering. I
have a note that I keep up for specifically VWSC, James, that says nobody can hear Paul but you. I have to remind myself of that sometimes.
I am aware of that, but it's very hard when I'm getting asked a question.
It is a little terrifying. I will say that, and I will say it's a lot of fun though. It is quite a lot of fun because sometimes I'm sitting here and I know Paul is saying things, and I have to remember nobody else can hear it but me. Sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it just produces interesting moments.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. On that one, George Angelidis has left the pits, guys, as well. We will refresh the graphic on the left-hand side on that one once we get it done. So we'll get that done. But JT, Tammy, David should still, they provided most of the action today, but they provided the action, but they're not really doing a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's very follow me leader at the moment. And yeah, on that one as well, we've got a replay on our screen as it comes down into turn one. That back end's coming round all day. There we go. Swishy goes round there as well. But yeah, David and JT Tammy, they've been following each other for a period of time, and they haven't really done a lot, have they, Brad? It's very follow me leader. The only thing that's interrupted him is this hypercar here with Mike Bell, who can't seem to get past him cleanly there in there. So Craig Pullen, Brad within 5 laps.
This is going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how this race plays on and how things go. I think, okay, yeah, I'm gonna... This is my cue to jump in here as Mr. Parfit catches a case of the giggles as we go through around the outside yet again. We have a hypercar.
Oh,
yeah, so...
You left me hanging. You just went, yeah, interesting. I was just like, what am I supposed to say?
Oh, this has been a fun race. We're not even half distance here, and things are absolutely off the walls, both in the booth and on the track. If you refresh your AccuWeather now, Kenny, it is rain in 18 minutes, is what I'm told. Every time, if you ever want to know what's actually happening, just go ahead and click Alt F4 on your AccuWeather. That'll give you a good answer as to what's happening. Because you might as well.
Brad, I'm giving up with the weather. It literally goes in and out, in and out, in and out, and I'm literally just giving up at the moment. When it rains, everybody. All right, that's basically what we're gonna say in that one. Having a look through the timing tower, nobody else is really close. Dahlgren's in the pits. John Mayer is in the pits. Tammy and Shin, you know, give one of them a stick of dynamite, make something happen there, because they have literally just been playing follow me leader. JT Tammy now with that hypercar of Kirby in the middle of the fight there. So we'll wait for Kirby. He's been very patient overtaking traffic at the moment, is Dan Kirby. Not really jeopardizing himself, hence the gap with Barker still 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to be... That's the thing, is like, it's not really sure what's happened. Something's happened with Ross Smith, and he is going through. He's got some pretty significant damage. We don't really know where it came from or what happened. And I do want to point out that we're guessing on the weather, and the weather is very much an educated guess. I want to point out, in Formula One, they pay hundreds of millions of dollars and pounds to have all these sophisticated radars and put people ahead and behind the track and figure things out. and you still end up with the guys on the pit box just leaning out and sticking a hand out to say, yep, it's raining. No, it's not raining. And even then you end up with George Russell sweating and him saying, guys, it's raining. What are we doing? And the pit box saying, George, we don't think it's raining. And he goes, oh, no, it's just sweat. Never mind. So the weather is a very guessing game. I'm giving up with it, just as you are. David Junt is not giving up here, holding back JT TME with hypercars coming through. If I am JT TME, I'm going to stay right on the butt end of those hypercars and try to use that to my advantage to get up to David Junt, try to have a run down the main straight, try to get a pass done. But it is very much follow the leader, hold on. I don't know why this pass hasn't happened yet. We're running through, we're getting ready to hit lap 47 of 101, and man, the hypercars are not being patient with each other. They're not being patient with anyone, and especially not with each other as they go through. David Junt very much having to play the safe game to make sure he stays in this race.
Yeah, you've got Craig Pullen and Robert Molin, so you've got a leader of the hypercar, or what was the leader of the hypercar, sitting in second now. He's currently just about to be overtaken by Robert Molin in behind him, who is up in the hypercar pros. I think that's where the situation is confusing, because at the moment in time, Craig Pullen and Robert Molin nearly just had a go at each other round turn one. So if you want to see hypercars going at it, go forward a couple of spots, because Craig Pullen and Robert Bowling are having a right little ding-dong in the hypercar AMS and in the hypercars. But we've got Mike Bell on the screen, Timon Suvic in just behind him currently there. So yeah, nice little inter-class battles, Brad, should we say?
Yeah, the interclass battles are always where things get. Oh, Mike Bell! That was a big snappy-do around.
Oh, Luke Goodlife. That was Goodlife off the side of the tag.
Yeah, Goodlife having a bad race.
That was Goodlife off the side of the circuit. That rejoin is going to be under question. And that is not open to question from Goodlife. That slippery car that he's in here in the Porsche 963 just goes round, thinks he's got time to turn it. He lets the hypercar go through, lets the GT3 go through, and then Mike Bell comes around the corner and finds in there. Watch it very shortly. Look, there goes the hypercar. That's the 9X8, and then the GT3 of the Aston Martin. Here comes Mike Bell, and, well, yeah. Bell's not going to be impressed with Mr. Goodlife on that one as he goes and drives right in front of him, probably with a few hand signals in over the steering wheel of his simulator there. JT Tammy, David Shun. We've now got Eduardo Benica, who is up with them, but I think Benica's actually a lap down on these guys. He's to go through, but he's a little bit faster, but he is obviously behind them. Do you, as a back marker that is a lap down here, Brad, do you go round him or do you not go round him?
I mean, if you're faster, I do agree that you should overtake him, but I think it's also a case of, can you do it cleanly? Can you do it safely? And can you do it, without causing hassle to someone else? That's, the big thing is, if you're faster, even if you're a back marker, you have the right to try to take the place back if you're faster, but you can't do it and spin out the people that are, leading through just because, I'm faster, but I've had a bad race, and so I'm in the back, which isn't the situation here that's happening, but I have seen back markers, they're frustrated because they think they should be further up, but they're in the back for whatever reason may be, and then they get up, they're trying to make a pass on one of the lead cars, not able to make it, as easily as they would want, so they force the issue around. We're not going to see that happen here, but it is something to be aware of for all of you that do any sort of competitive online racing. If you're a back marker, remember you're the back marker. You are not in the race with the lead cars. If you can get the pass done, get the pass done, but don't force the issue like you're fighting for position. People get very upset about that.
Yeah, but he's quicker, so go through. There you go. Benica, get him. That's my philosophy. Eduardo Benica, you are quicker, go past him. So there we go. As Eduardo's going to nestle in behind them here. In the GT3 AMS, Matthew Bicewell, he's just out in front by 40 seconds over Stephen behind him. So yeah, he's in GT3 AMS doing an absolute stellar job there. But Davidson. JT Tammy very Fulham a leader. Robert Molin dropping back from Cameron Barker, who's dropped back from Dan Kirby. Jerry Chen now leading the Hypercar AMS here. He's done a great job as well, overtaking Craig Pullen, but that was in the pit stop cycle, Brad, and I expect it to probably go back the other way here as we're just reaching over halfway.
Yeah, I do expect that too as we go. Lap 50 on the ticker here, so we'll see exactly how that plays around. We're starting to see more of the cars compressing together here at half race distance. We have this good pack of cars that are together here up in the front that are running through, so we'll watch how they get along as they're hard on the brakes into turn one. This is a mix of every class that is on track right now that is running through, so that's what's really interesting to watch as we run around. But still, David Junt, JT Tammy right there in the mix where they're at, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. On that one, going to be very interesting in this. JT Tammy, David Junt still battling away. Magnus Dahlgren still in there as well. So great no actions in the Hypercars. Got George Angelidis in and around there. Ross Smith on your screen at the moment in time is just about to be dived considerably there from Ross Smith. That is Eduardo Bonica who's pushing him along. JT Tammy in that one, and this isn't even for places. One of them's off. They're off. Ross and Bonica have off. Both of them have had a little bit of a ding dong, and ding dong, round they go. Ross Smith and Eduardo Bonica on that one. So there we go, and unfortunately both of them are off, Brad.
Yeah, and we're seeing the replay here of exactly what happened. Little tippy taps in the curb, and well, you can't put two cars in one place on the track, and that is, yeah, that's the issue. So, I mean, we're only half distance. That's the thing to remember. We're half distance here, and we're still seeing drivers struggle through. And again, this is not with rain, so that is what's making this even more sort of shocking to me as we go through. We've got David Junt, JT Tammy here, that they have a car that's trying to sneak their way through them and go around. I mean, we're just, it's just a case of...
Yeah, I think for JT Tammy and David Junt, we are literally seeing them follow each other, right? This is about as interesting as watching a solo car driving around a racetrack. They're not really doing anything. The most interesting bit is when they get lapped within traffic on that one. These guys are very samey there currently as well, and it's going to be very, very interesting. Let's give you a rundown starting at the front of the order here. Let's go up to Dan Kirby, who has led from start to finish. I'm sure, there we go. I'm sure we'll jump onto him as well. There he is. Dan Kirby in first place with Cameron Barker currently. This is mid-race as they are right now. Robert Molin in third with Dan Herlock in fourth. Magnus Dahlgren in fifth. Then you got Wooder de Bruin, Timon Suvic, Mike Bell, Jerry Chen, Tony McCoffin. They're obviously all one lap behind that one. Craig Pullen was leading the Hypercar AMS, now sitting in second after his pit stop. Ben Kesby has had a rough night on that one. He's down in 13th. George Angelidis, John Mayer, Philip Ducati, Benjamin Poitier, Adam Gray, and Good Life. Well, Good Life has done more auditions for Swan Lake this evening than anybody I've seen so far. William Schlichting is leading the GT3 Pros currently. He is in 20th. Then Johnny Gutierrez, David Junt, and JT Tammy. You've seen Junt and Tammy. They've been stuck to me, you know, it's just literally on a tow rope for them to Eugene Missouri in there, Vasilis Katarinakis, Jeremy Zalecki, Matthew Overton, Alan Holden, Gilles Lalonde, and Eduardo Bonica, who we have just heard has just DNF'd to a loud eruption in my hero. We'll have a look back, but we do believe it may have been a disconnect. Stephen Bice, Stephen Miller, Walker, Matthew Bice, Ross Smith, Mike Bice there, DNF's Monet, Scott, Pierre Moreno, and Maximilian Petravsky currently at this moment in time. So let's have a look back and see if we can find out about the Eduardo Bonica situation. A couple of people in the pits on that one, but for Eduardo, as he comes around, where are we? Turn 1 here for Bonica, and then all of a sudden is going to be Puff the Magic Dragon, I think. Yeah, there we go. Puff the Magic Dragon for Eduardo Bonica. And that one, so I believe he has disconnected for Eduardo and is now a DNF. That's 5 DNFs. So that leaves us currently with 35 cars still running here. So great battle and action so far, Brad, as we've reached that 54 lap mark.
We have, and it's unfortunate to DQ halfway through the race, especially on a moment like that and on a disconnect. But, if you think about it, it's the same thing that you would see in real life, if, the suspension broke or the engine blew, anything like that. And you'd have the problem. Halfway race distance and the gap up front is 1.4 seconds. It has managed to close quite a bit here as we have both drivers in shot here. But remember, Kirby and Barker are teammates here, so I'm curious to see what they do. Is this a case of pull the gloves off and let them race? Are we going to get, instead of papaya orders, is it CMS orders? Are we going to get, what sort of action is going to come our way with Kirby and Barker closing to each other, if any? And that's the thing that I really want to see, because of course, remember, we're not just competing for a driver's championship, we got a team's championship in the mix as well. And in Hypercar, it is CMS Pro. I mean, they've got a good gap over Smile Power Racing, but
I think 53 points is a massive gap, Brad. I think that's the thing.
Is.
For these guys, they could play follow a leader. Dan Kirby isn't really going to lose anything out to Dan Herlock, right? Herlock is somewhere in 4th at the moment. There you go, I found him. So for him, for Kirby and Barker, it's just literally keeping it as it is. Is Barker going to catch Tom Lane? Well, Tom's not here, so there's a distinct possibility that he might. But for Kirby, he's not going to really lose anything. There's no point the CMS Pro boys going at each other. That's just a little bit pointless. So I think at the end of the day, they might keep it civil, should we say.
I would hope that they'll keep it civil, but I do really want to see some really hard racing. The gap is about to go under a second here as we have George and Scar Pope on screen. And
they're
these
having
two,
a bit of a ding dong here at the moment as well. So
yeah, they are right on the
George
rear of
just
each other.
put in a Scar on that one. So there you go. And now we're having a nice little battle further down in the Hypercar AM. So great action from them guys. Go back up front with Dan Kirby and Cameron Barker on this one, Brad.
Yeah, and I do think they're just going to be stuck to each other. We've watched David Junt, JT Tammy do this, and these two are going to, I think, proceed with the same thing. And, I do wonder, I would think the drivers are getting updates on the weather as well as we are. And again, we're going back to the weather subject for just a brief second because it keeps changing. It keeps going. And I would think the drivers are getting updates on it just like we are. Now we're showing an 8-minute AccuTime time minute forecast. So how accurate that is, well, it's changed about 45 times across 56 laps. So I don't have a good answer for you, but I'm keeping an eye on it as well in the background here. Angelita's running away on Pope now in that second place in Hypercar AM. And GT3, Junt and Tammy still holding on, and GT3 AM things have opened up. We're lap 56 of 101, James. And at the moment, I think if you just keep your, what's the saying? You cross your I's and dot your T's or something like that, and you'll be just fine to the end of this race.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. Schlichting is into the pit lane, so his character Knack is there. Junt also in, as JT Tammy and David Junt have finally separated. The divorce has happened on the racetrack. JT Tammy has taken the kids, Shitling's taken the dog, and they have finally separated, Brad.
They have. Mulling is closing that gap to Kirby and Barker slowly, so we're getting ready to hit 2/3 race distance not too far from now, and we might end up with a 3-car battle on our hands out of nowhere as we go through Mulling. right on the back of Cameron Barker by 0.2 of a second, 1/10 of a second. Hard on the brakes, they come down, and it is going to be Mullen just holding on to the back of Barker as they go through, and we'll see. I think Mullen does have the pace to get past Barker. I think he's just got to be smart and strategic about it as they continue along and continue down, especially because we are hitting pit stop cycles yet again, not only for the GT3s as we see several of them going in, but hypercars as well should not be too far off their next cycle of pit stop. We'll see if Mullen can get past Cameron Barker here as they go down the main straight. He'll have the help of Slipstream, but the gap does open out of that final corner. Half a second, the gap. Now it's going to close. Swerving to break the Slipstream like we're in IndyCar, but we are, of course, here in Indianapolis, crossing the bricks hard into turn one. They'll go on the brakes. And Mullen going to look for a dive up the inside. Not able to make it stick.
If he did try and make that one stick, I've got to be honest, that would have ended up in tears. Because they would have been in there as well. Kataranakis has a penalty for speeding in the pit lane in the on the race currently at this moment in time. Oh dear, Brad, we're coming into that sort of 40. What have we got? 43 laps remaining. We've had pit stop cycles. We've had a bit of DNFs, 5 DNFs here. We've been going for what, an hour and 30 minutes as well, just breaking the halfway point. Tiredness, fatigue, are we expecting that all to kick in?
Oh, I for sure would expect that to kick in. Again, this is a challenging track because it is a different setup to what we're used to. So mentally, you've got to be in a slightly different game. It's a very flat track, so you have no camber to help in turning. So you're going to have a bit more oomph in the wheel you've got to give. You got to be a little more cognizant of the throttle application of everything. I really do think we're going to start seeing some drivers just mentally fatigue out of this race as we go. Again, typically we're driving to like a 90-minute delta, and it's easy to look up and push yourself and say, you know what? At this point, we would have maybe 20 to 30 minutes left of racing in a normal VWSC event. And it's easy to look up and say, you know what? I can make it the rest of this race. I can survive the rest of this race. I can hold on. I can get my way through. But when you're looking at a lap count, you know, it also adds, are any of these drivers trying to do the mental math in their head of how much time is left? You know, you look up and you go, okay, lap 59 of 101, and we're running about XYZ a lap. I'm running this. I've got to make this many more laps and this many more minutes, you know, and then it becomes a case of, well, that many more laps is such a long time. It's really not, though. It's going to move very quick, but I do think it is a little bit more of a mental game. And yes, there is some mental challenge that comes to racing, especially on a lap count. I really like endurance racing being on a timer because, you know, like, I have to survive this much time. However many laps I run, it's what I run, but at the end of this time, I'm good. Running a lap count is a different sort of mindset, and I keep saying that and saying that and saying that because it really is true for how that goes and how we stand. We're down the main straight here, and we continue on here. Mullen, I think, is going to catch Cameron Barker and get past him here in the next couple of laps if this GT3 doesn't hold him up, and it is going to hold him up here as they go.
Yeah, that's Kataranakis in the middle there for the GT3s. Closest battle on the racetrack, Robert Molin and Cameron Barker. Everybody else is fairly spread out. You can see on, well, you can't see on the left-hand side at the moment, but there is a timing tower that will tell you where everybody else is. JT Tammy is in the pit box and has been out of the pit box. And guess who JT Tammy is 2.3 seconds away from, Brad? I'll give you one guess.
Are you going to make me say it? Are you really going to make me say it?
Yeah, because I want to know if you know the answer.
He's away from David Junt by 2.3 seconds. Am I really going to have to say that?
Yeah, go on.
I feel like we should just know that it's David Junt at this point. I don't feel like I should have to. Oh, Robin Mullen! What is he doing? Patience is a virtue of which he has none.
Yeah, Robert Molin there as well. We never did get the answer out of Brad. He's more of a politician.
I said it 5 times. What do you mean you never got the answer?
I couldn't hear it because obviously I had 3 people with my hero, didn't I, at the same time? So, you know, I need a fly squatter or whatever going on there. So, yeah, Jason Tammy and David Junt almost coming back together again. Robert Molin almost getting himself into a bit of a pickle there. I believe that was Gutierrez in there. Yeah, and now he's unfortunately lost a little bit of time to Cameron Barker. Barker 2.4 seconds. So, yeah, getting a little bit spicy at certain points on the GT3 hypercar overtakes.
Yeah, we're starting to close the gap a bit here with Barker and Kirby, and I gotta wonder if, again, they're looking up and they're thinking, you know, 40 laps to go, we've got to get things moving and do something different here. It's still a lot of time if you think about the fact that we're running, last lap was Mike Bell ran a 1:15.927. It's the fastest lap, but we're still running about 1:20, 1:25 a lap. 1:25 in the GT3s and about 1:19, 1:20 in the hypercars. So still plenty of racing left, plenty of time left, and at this point it's just nail your apexes, keep things moving, and if you're Barker, try to close up the gap to Kirby a little bit here, try to put some pressure down, make things a little interesting. But again, I don't think that this P1 and P2 is going to switch at all. I think Kirby is going to be running through and looking for the win. I think really what's going to get interesting is what will Mullen do to try to get up onto the second step, or maybe the top step, if he thinks he has the pace and can make it through, because 1, 2, and 3 are all within a camera shot now. As we come around, you can get all 3 in one camera shot, and that tells me that they're close enough for us to get a bit of a battle on our hands.
Yeah, hopefully, eventually Kirby, Barker and Molin will. David Anderson, welcome in. Cool track for this race. Yeah, not everybody's favourite, David, I've got to be honest, as Kirby there. That is a back marker in front of Dan Kirby. And that currently is Mr. Benjamin Porteous-Heath, who seems to be making an effort to try and remove himself. There you go, through he goes. Now Kirby's coming in to Schlittling, who's leading the GT3s. He's got Jaime Zalecki in front of that one, has Dan Kirby, and also Jerry Chen. And now Schlittling behind has got Barker tucked up. Porteous-Heath has got Molin. I think this is going to cause a little bit of a spread on gaps here, because Kirby's cleared his cars easier than Barker cleared his, and Molin has not cleared his. He's still in behind Porteous-Heath, and he cannot get him at this moment in time. He's going to have to take a big old dive down into turn 1. Is this what's going to happen? Molin does make it through, but Benjamin Porteous-Heath almost ends up getting shunted behind with William Schlittling. So it was all getting a little bit iggly-piggly at the back there, as Barker, Kirby and Molin. But as we said, what has happened has happened. 1.5 seconds now to Barker, 2.9 seconds from Barker to Molin. So it kind of spread everybody out a little bit there, Brad, with that sort of little bit of bunched traffic.
Yeah, and that's the thing with traffic. If you play it well, play it to your advantage, you can open up a gap and you can give yourself a bit of breathing room. If you get it wrong, it can really put pressure on you. So you got to be smart with it and how you run. And as we see Dan Kirby, Cameron Barker really taking advantage of the traffic and getting their way through here as we come around. And this is going to be on the bottom right. That is going to be Robin Mulling's point of view for how far the gap has spread. Now, I do think he will start to close this gap a bit, and there's Dan Kirby pulling into the pits here. Cameron
Mullins
Barker
going as well. Mullins got in.
I don't blame Mullins a bit. I would have followed as well and went in. So we'll have Dan Kirby out on the track trying to navigate some traffic. He needs to have a very, very good lap here, and then I would imagine next lap he'll be pulling in.
Yeah, that's Woodward de Bruin and Jerry Chen in behind these guys. So everybody's been lapped up to 5th place. Okay? Everybody's been lapped up to Woodward de Bruin. Dan Kirby has gone and lapped everybody up to 5th. So, you know, great battles there. Woodward de Bruin is not battling Jerry Chen on your screen. And, well, were on your screen briefly before they got changed to the David Shunt JT Tammy love affair that we're having at Indy with these two individuals, not able to leave each other alone. That's Luke Goodlife in the mix, and Luke nearly being able to come through on that one, Brad. But of course, Luke has had his own little bits of tats with himself and spinning there.
Yeah, he has. It's going to be interesting to see GT3 playing out. I'm really, really interested to see how GT3 plays out. Schlichting's just holding on through and going out. Barker's moving, Mullen's moving, so gap is going to be there a little bit, but they are coming out into traffic. as we see here. And there's Dan Kirby coming through nice and pretty as you please, with nearly a lap difference to him and Cameron Barker. You see just right there the matter of 2 corners separating them as we go around and continue through. Craig Pullen is into the pits in the lead of the Hypercar AMs. He's dropped in, and we'll go through. And important to note, it is about 80-second stop. Gutierrez here in a battle with David Junt, and who is behind Junt? None other than Mr. JT Tammy. This is a 3-car battle for the GT3 second place. Lap 65 of 101 here, and things have not calmed down. I do think that Mustang, Johnny Gutierrez, is going to be under some pressure here into turn 1. Hard on the brakes. Can David Junt get this pass done? He dives up the inside, and a clean pass. But contact front to rear bumper.
Yeah, Junt and Gutierrez there making a little bit of contact. JT Tammy's turn now to have a go at old Johnny in that Ford Mustang GT3. JT Tammy there in the Aston Martin. Big boy is going to come and have a go at Johnny. Mike Bell's going to go through in the hypercar. Job done. JT's going to send. JT Tammy is going to send it up the inside of Mr. Gutierrez. So through he goes. JT. Mike Bell, I believe that is it Mike Bell in front with David Junt? It is, as Mike Bell has gone through. Cameron Barker and Robert Molin, and that was quite interesting when they come out of the pits, because Barker was separated from Molin by 2 cars. Ross Smith was in there, and I can't remember who the other one was. But now they've only got Gilles Lalonde, and they're going to end up coming back together again. So I think for Cameron Barker with Kirby in the pit lane, it's going to be very, very interesting to see where he comes out in conjunction to this. He's on his way around turn 12, 13, 14. Kirby currently is still in the pit, so if we can get the bottom right on Kirby's camera so we know when he moves there he is. Barker on his way round the left-hander, round the right. He's going to come back on to this one. Kirby is moving. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is going to be a Barker corner going down into turn 1. Here he comes. Kirby's going to come out. They're going to be almost ding-donging side by side. Barker, Kirby there. Oh, Barker, Molin got held up. Molin got held up by the GT3. Cameron Barker did not get Dan Kirby, and now's got Adam Gray in front of him there. So for Cameron Barker, he almost got him, and then of course poor old Robert Molin didn't get anywhere.
Yeah, he got that so well timed from Kirby, just picture perfect to hold that lead by 1.7 seconds. And Cameron Barker is going to be very, very frustrated that he did not nail that through the way he wanted to. We've had another DNF come through, and so we continue on lap 66 of 100 here as we go around. We're looking to see how this hypercar battle can end. One more pit stop will be required from these guys before the end of the race, and that should come with about 15 to go, I would say, and we'll see how that mixes things up. Cameron Barker will get one more shot to get around Dan Kirby with the undercut if he can do that. Here is our replay, and this is going to be our just how close it was. This is Molin that we're on board with, just how close that was. You see there Dan Kirby coming out of the pits, Herlock or Barker ahead.
I think Molin, I think he anticipated that GT3 to stop, but he didn't, and neither should he have to be blatantly honest. He didn't have the corner. The GT3 had the corner all day. Kenny has said he's feeling raindrops. Well, I'm not. Brad, you feeling rain?
It just feels a little warm in my room, but of course I'm not in Indianapolis. I am, where I've said I am. So I don't see rain. I don't see sprinkles anywhere. It looks like we've put that dome over Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And even though if you zoom in on the AccuWeather, if you refresh it right now and zoom in, it says it is raining on the front stretch. I see absolutely none of it.
We've got 8 minutes. I've still got 8 minutes. give
I
up.
think we talked
Straight
about
up
the
it.
rain and we hyped up the rain, and that is exactly what happened. So now just no rain's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. But even when you go on board with a driver, nothing. There's no window wipers. There's no nothing. So on that one. So Kirby trying to go through. That's Benjamin Porteous Heath in the hypercar in front of him there. So has Barker got to deal with this situation currently. Robert Molin, that's Gutierrez again, just going to lose out Cameron Barker. Robert Molin's going to get him. He's going to jump with it at the same time. Is he? No, Molin's going to get stuck behind Gutierrez, I believe, on that one. So traffic now coming in, playing a part here, Brad. We've got 33 laps to go.
Yep, we are officially 2/3 race distance, so we will see how this inner third of the race goes through to the end. Around the outside we ride, and there it goes. We continue on lap traffic, and slower class cars will be a problem that these drivers need to contend with. They've been doing this so far, and it seems like we're doing a pretty good job of getting through. It's a nice little song and dance, little mutual back and forth about, well, get the GT3 out of the way, but then if you're a slower hypercar, don't hold up the faster hypercar, and you're driving a lot in your mirrors, your spotters in your ears saying, hey, faster car behind, watch out, and you're doing a good job. Ooh, hard brake and slide there from Dan Herlock as he is chasing down Magnus Dahlgren here. This is P4 we're looking at by just 0.3 of a second. The gap down the main straight we go in the slipstream, trying to go through. Can he get a pass done? He's going to look hard to the inside here into turn one, late on the brakes. Dan Herlock will get that pass done on Magnus Dahlgren in the pass for P4 overall in hypercars.
Yeah, great job. Herlock now with Miller in the mix. Matthew Bice is leaving Stephen Bice there by 8.5 seconds with Steve Miller in there. Mike Bice has got quite a way to go before he catches up to Steve. And in fact, he's in the pit lane. Is Mike. It's a shame we can't get a Bice 1, 2, 3. So there we go. I think that would be the first time all season, actually, if that actually happened. Stephen Miller has just had a little bit of a ta-ta-ta, should we say. And that is due to the fact that there's a hypercar calamity going on Coffin, Kesby and Dahlgren. So unfortunately for him, there we go. If you have a look at the guys in front, you can see they all get a little bit tangled up, and Miller kind of has got nowhere to go on that one, and a little bit sputtering in the middle, but I'm sure we'll be able to get that settled down for you here as well. Lap 70, Brad, 31 to go.
Yeah, 31 to go, and still we're seeing plenty of action through the field. Plenty of drivers just trying to navigate traffic, make the most of this very flat circuit that they can as we go through and we continue around. And we're watching here Matt Bice with Trash Panda Racing, who in the GT3 AMs, we haven't talked about them a lot today, but they are being nice and smooth and consistent, and that is really all you can ask for. You know, no 1, 2, 3 as you mentioned, but hey, a 1, 2 is not a bad run for them as we continue around. I've been also trying to keep up with the GT3s up in the top, because the top 5, it's separated by 70 seconds from 1st to 5th, but 20 seconds is the gap between Schlichting and Junt, and Mr. William Schlichting does not seem to be faltering in any way. He is a little bit slower on his lap times, but he is still nice and smooth, and as I say slower, I look back over and he has actually put in the fastest time in class that lap that he had done. So he's running minute 25s and everybody else is running about minute 27s in the GT3 class. So he is just kind of in a league of his own as they run around.
Currently at the moment, it is. We've got Matthew Price leading the GT3 AM. Stephen 14 seconds back on that one. We've got Robert Molin and Cameron Barker. If we can go to them, please, Mr. Producer Man, as they are back together by about 0.2 of a second. And I'm sure there you go, they're on their screen now. There is Jaime Zalecki in front of us, just cleared James Walker. And now we've got Jaime Zalecki, Molin here, going to look at all over the back end of Barker. Is he going to be able to make this through? Not this time, coming into 12. Is he still, Zalecki trying to stay out of the way? Molin is through once more. Barker now It's going to be a rundown coming into turn 13. The right-hander, Molin's looking at the inside. He's hard on the brakes. Oh, the big old brave boy send. But Kirby's also up the road there. He's not having a good time with William Schlittling. So, unfortunately for these three, this is a Hypercar Pro battle coming back together here, Brad.
Yeah, it's a big battle that is coming around and will continue to come around and go through. Big picture from Cameron Barker to hold Robin Moling behind. And now, that's a good sneak through. Trying to make the pick there with the Aston Martin GT3, and that's going to give him a bit of breathing room that he needed desperately, because he was having a very bad time there for a moment, and it would have been just a matter of one corner, maybe two more, and then Robin Moling would have been passed. But he's able to use that GT3 just to snake his way through. GT3 ran completely off the track trying to stay out of the way here, and now there we go, one of the Bice brothers going around the outside there, and Robin Moling having to navigate through, and this is given Barker the little bit of breathing space he needs. Gap is now a second.
Yeah, that was Matthew, by the way, leader of the GT3 so Matthew Bryce in that one. Barker, Molin, and Kirby. We've got Pullen is in the Hypercar AMS at the moment. He's closed right up on Scar Pipe. In fact, he's actually only 1/10 back. There you go, they're on your screen now. Pullen's just about to pull out. Have a go at Scar Pope. Is he going to be able to get this job done? Down into the left-hander currently at the moment. Pullen's looking to go through. He has managed to go through. Pope's made a mistake. That's going to allow Timon Suvic. This is Suvic lapping these guys as well. With Gutierrez in there for Pullen. Pullen's going to have to try and master this back marker here in the GT3. Through he goes. Suvic's coming at him at the same time, Brad, and currently, well, they've all managed to survive so far.
Yeah, and survival is the big game as we go into the final 25 laps here, and they've got to really just survive to the end now. Pull together what you can and get your way through to the end here. Pull together what you can, Pullen. Get it? Get it? Someone? No one? Okay, that's fine. I don't get it either. It's fine. But yeah, no, it's a case of just pull together what you can. And
I've just literally heard a commentator have a complete conversation with himself there on that one. Brad, I do.
We hear that every single time we have the VWSC. We hear someone have a conversation with themselves.
Well, you know, and normally it's us having a conversation with Paul in our hero. I get it. It's fine. It's been a long race, Brad. I understand. Yeah, as well. Yeah, I know. Nice replay. Great job in the booth, by the way, boys, says Kenny Grobbs there. And on that one, I hope we brought a smile to your faces at some point, because I can tell you now, we've been having a good old time up here in the booth. There is only 2 Hypercars lapped down on their leader. Jerry Chen has lapped Meyer and Poitier, see 5th in class at the moment. So Chen having a great third. That's it. So on that one, it looks like we may have lost Dan Herlock and Philippe Ducati, and they may have just been disqualified. And I'm wondering, oh yes, literally just disappeared off the side of the circuit, both of them in pit lane. Is there any specific reason that we know of in there, Mr. Producer, sir? No. Unfortunately, both of them have just been DQ'd, apparently. DNF there. We've also lost Alan Holden. He is also not, he's DNF'd as well. I'm wondering if we can find a reason why Alan Holden DNF'd. I can't physically see anything, but we'll let Producer Paul go on a little bit of a treasure hunt and be the next Annika Rice up here in the booth. That's a bit of a weird one for a couple of people there. Dan Herlock and Ducati, Brad, both DQing.
Yeah, and it was the top of the broadcast. We were talking about how great Dan Herlock does and how consistent he is, and it's very rare form to see Dan Herlock DQ out. I'm trying to get a bit of an ask of what happened. Philippe Ducardi has very quickly put in a response that he wants the penalty removed. So I don't know what's happened. I hope nothing's happened between the two of them. But he has put in a post and said, I want my penalty removed. So I don't know what happens. Something's happened that's taken him out and given him a DQ penalty. So it looks like he received a penalty and then didn't serve it, is what it looks like. So it looks like they didn't serve a penalty they received, but they're saying that it was received the same lap they should have served it, is what I'm gathering. So bit of a weird one. Dan Herlock said DQ for not having lights on.
Yeah, there is a thing, isn't there, where they have to have the lights on.
So
So you can't argue that. Yep, you can't argue that one.
That's not the first time we've seen someone DQ'd over their headlights either, unfortunately.
It is, but they all been told though, haven't they? Plenty of times.
Yep. Yeah, that's an unfortunate, that's a weird one, and it really stinks to see
Well,
that happen.
he's in YouTube chat as well. He is in YouTube chat. DQ for not having lights on. Was sure I turned them turned them on the grid. I'm sure there's another word in there that's missing. If they wasn't, it would have been on auto, so I'm very confused. Well, unfortunately, Dan, you didn't. I'm trying to see if I can. You're still on the track. I can still get you in the replay on track, and I'm trying to see if your lights are actually on, but I can't actually find a car camera that gives me a front look at your car there, Dan. Unfortunately, I think you got the dimmers on. He looks like he has got the lights on though. That's the problem. But he hasn't. Yeah, he has got lights on.
That's a really weird one. That's an unfortunate one.
I think if you go and have a look at the replay at the point of where he DQ'd, I think as he comes down towards you, you see the fact he has actually got lights on. So I'm a little bit confused on that. Holden, Monet, Scott, Moreno, Petrovsky, Herlick on Ducati are out of the race here at this moment in time. Going into the last 24 laps of Indy. Kirby out in front with 2.4, Barker 3.4 behind that. Great, George Antonini is currently leading the Hypercar Hours with Jerry Chen 1.4 seconds back. Splitting in GT3 Pros, heading from David Junt, who's finally broke away from JT Tammy. I'm sure they had an argument and the divorce was settled with Junt taking the position there. Bice and Miller and Bice is the situation down in the GT3 Stephen Bice, Stephen Miller and Matthew Bice on that one, but we've got a replay on the Sky and there you go. That looks like it's got lights on.
Look at the car compared. You. They're not.
Yeah, but wind that on a little bit.
Yeah, no rear. No.
Maybe he ain't. No, look, there's no rears in them either.
Yeah.
Oh, you had dimmers on, Dan. You didn't have your beamies on, Sonny. No, you had your dimmers on. Oh, I always turn them on as it's a habit at this point. So I'm sitting. Well, we've just shown you why you haven't, Dan, on that one. You had it on the dimmers. You didn't have your fullies on, mate. So you weren't going to be able to see anything. No rear lights on your car whatsoever. And the same, we think that's the same for Philip Ducati, we believe, with the light situation. So.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, dimmers on the butt for Philip Ducati coming towards us. So, Draco, bang the rights on that one, Mr. Herlock. As the investigatory Paul Glover is on the back. Right, anyway. Where are we going to see battles now, Brad? We've got 22 laps to go.
Well, I'm looking through the field here as we go. Dan Kirby, Cameron Barker separated by 3.3 seconds. Robin Moling back by 2 seconds on Cameron Barker. So that's opened up a little. It's starting to get a little more cloudy on track. I'm not saying the magical R word because every time I've said it, the time's gone up. but we are starting to see a little bit of a change in the air. So keep that in mind as we go into this final 20 laps as we run along. Another battle that I think we need to watch is George Angelides and Craig Pullen. That gap is just over 5 seconds as they stand. So I think that battle may start to close in and get a little bit closer as this race goes on. Another battle to watch, GT3, Johnny Gutierrez and Jamie Zalecki. That gap is 3 seconds, just crossing 4 seconds, and I think that'll come through. But really, the field is all in their own race throughs. Smart BOPed is 3 seconds off of Craig Pullen in the Hypercar AMs, and we could possibly see that change things up as well. We're starting to see the final round of Hypercar pit stops as well. We're within 20 laps to go, so we're going to start seeing the final round of Hypercar pit stops start to mix things up, and we'll see where everyone stands. It does look like Ben Kesby has taken 4 stops already, as well as Mike Bell. Everybody else is on 3, except for Mr. Goodlife in the back of the AMs. Watch the very close battles, and this is mental fatigue, James. This is, I think, starting to slip in, and Hypercars are starting to get a little bit tired, and GT3s are starting to get a little bit tired. And I think we're going to start seeing small errors really start to slip in and cause big problems, especially when you get a group of cars like this together.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very interesting for these guys to be able to get through. Parker has got ahead of Walker. Bice is in the mix of all this one. Gutierrez is in there. Smith's in there. So there's a lot of people in the way for Robert Molin, James Walker, Stephen Bice, Luke Goodlife was all there. And they're all trying to get through. If you see this off the car, you will see it's absolutely manic on that one. Molin and Barker. Gutierrez now. They're going to split Gutierrez like a chocolate Oreo. Now it's a run down into the first corner. Molin side by side with Barker. Is he going to be able to get through? There's the back marker of Wood and a Bruin there as well. Slightly a bit of an argy-bargy. Barker's going to send it in around the outside. He's got to have room. Now he's going to try and go all the way around the outside. It is Cameron Barker. Barker's going to try and block him off. He's not going to get that job done. Here we go. Now they continue to go side by side. Barker and Molin locked in side by side through the chicane. Molin makes it through. Barker's relegated to third. And unfortunately for him, well, there's no point flashing, son. He done you and he did you fair. So get on and try and have a go at him.
I think Barker backed out of that one going into turns 5 and 6. I think he knew side by side was not going to end pretty for anyone, especially if they held it side by side through turn 1, 2, 3, 4. If they had stayed side by side through 5 and 6, neither one of them would have made it out to see turn 7. So I think Barker backed out of that one, let it go, and said, you know what, live to fight another day is the goal, and that's where I think we're going here. So he wasn't giving him a lot of space, I will say, but I think it was a case that Barker just decided to let it go, live to fight another day. He said, you know what, you can have me this lap, and I'll try you on the next lap. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but the problem is they got traffic. They've got traffic. De Bruin is a back marker in a hypercar. Barker's not going to clear these guys at the same time. If he does, he was given that. I can tell you that much, because he would not have cleared Wouter De Bruin there and Schlittling unless he actually went for it, and he did. I don't know how easy it is for Barker to get through. Robin's been looking quick for the whole entire 82 laps. I don't know how hard it will be for Barker to be able to clear up. He's got to use the draft, he's got to dive, he's got to go in, he's got to try and make sure he can get finished and get the job done, because if he doesn't, all he's going to be is frustrated by the end of the race, Brad. And you know, that's it. When you don't leave it all on a racetrack and you take some of it home with you, you're going to be annoyed and frustrated with yourself. But he's going to have to dive Molin. I can't see how Molin can lose this position. He's looked quick all race.
Yeah, he's been quick, but I think the big thing that
No!
we run through with bias, you've got to watch the. That's the thing. He's been quick, but he's
They're
been
gonna
doing
split
stuff
him
like
again.
that the whole race. You
Him
can't.
and Gutierrez, I felt like chocolate Oreos, Brad.
That's the thing. Mullen's been quick, but he's been having moments like that where just the brain hasn't been turned on. And there it is, hard on the brakes. He locks up the rear axle, comes through. Cameron Barker's going to look through on the outside, turns to the inside as Mullen's going to try to hold on. They're not going to give each other room. They're going to bang doors here. Around we go, wheel by wheel. And there it is. Cameron Barker gets the position back, but can he hold on to it? And that's one error from Mullen in a series of what's been a quick race, but he's had some of those mistakes through. And as we see, this battle is going to continue on. But Mullen just not able to make it work.
Yeah, Barker now got through on that one. We've got a replay on your screen. You can see what was happening earlier on. This is on board, and this is where we split Johnny Gutierrez like an Oreo cookie. Through we go. Both people taking a bite of theirs, and you see the live pictures in the bottom right-hand corner. Barker and Mullen still fighting with each other. And this is where the overtake situation did get done. You see Barker, both of them in the pits together. Both of them in the pits. Nobody's covering each other off. Battle of the pit stop there as well. Oh, they made a little. They made a contact there as well. It's hard to talk when you got an hero full. You know, they did have a little bit of argy-bargy, and they did squeeze each other. Both of them were, both. Brad, I feel like I'm going to argue with you as well. Both of them were having an argy-bargy. Both of them, you know, didn't really leave each other space. Both of them were fighting. You know, for me, that was just good, clean, hard racing.
It takes two to tango, James. I mean, here's the thing. You can't have a good race if one driver backs out of it. You can't have a battle if one driver backs out of it. And I'll tell you right now, when you're battling for podium places overall in a race like this, you're not backing out of that. That was good, clean, hard racing. Yes, they bumped each other, and Cameron Barker got a little sideways, but Mullen backed out. He didn't, you know, bump him and run. We didn't see any sort of, you know, Bristol-Martinsville short track racing. It was good, hard, door-to-door racing. I think that was perfectly fine.
I think so as well. I think our producer is just used to mamby-pamby racing, you know what I mean? Let it be real, where everybody jumps out of his way. I think they had a great little ding-dong and fair play. And they're back together anyway. So it's not like either of them lost any time, right? You know, they're back together. They're back together on the racetrack on that one. Let us know in YouTube chat what you think on that one. Radar, a big glob of rain is on. Oh, Kenny, are we still going with the rain? Are we
yes,
doing
we're still going with the rain.
My AccuWeather says 3 minutes, so I don't know.
Didn't we have it say earlier rain in 0 minutes, and then it said
yeah,
rain in
then
20?
it went out. Yeah, it went in and out. Yeah, I don't know, and it was yeah. I've given up trying to predict it, Kenny. I've got to be honest. So there you go on that one. And Lars there, better luck next time down as well. Cameron Barker, Robert Mullen still scrapping it out. We've got Dan Kirby on the main screen. He's on his way round turns 11 and 12. Through the right-hander he goes for Dan Kirby. So, yeah, interesting fight so far here. We've got 16 laps to go.
16 laps to go, plenty of action left. Dan Kirby is just smooth sailing as best he can. 60-second lead. It's, you know, what can you say about Dan Kirby other than Dan Kirby is dang consistent. He is very, very smooth through, and really you can say that with most of our leaders here. I think the only big battle for the lead that we will see to the end is Mr. Pope and Chen there in Hypercar AM. Gap 1.7 seconds. That gap has been fluctuating a bit, but it is starting to come down. So I do think that Scar Pope and Jerry Chen are gonna have a good battle. And as soon as I say something, the gap opens. Man, they love to prove me wrong in many ways as they go, but it is because Mr. Jerry Chen has caught a absolute truckload of traffic in between them. You look at the mini map there on the top right, Mr. Scar Pope is, you know, going through and nice and pretty.
Pope's stuck behind Gutierrez.
Yep.
At the moment. So Pope's either not being aggressive enough, or no, he isn't. He's being very, very soft on the situation with Scar Pope. You've got to go, son. You've got to go. Jerry Chen is coming, right? I'm not being rude here for Scar Pope. On your screen in a moment, in fact, Vasilias Katorakis and James Walker. That's down in the GT3s. And Jerry Chen has got the gap down to 1.1 seconds of Scarpipe. They are literally just in front of this Kataranakis battle with James Walker. So nice little bit of a battle. 8 tenths down on that one. It's coming. You've just got to believe. That's what Paul Glover said in My Hero as well. But unfortunately, we haven't seen it as of yet, Kenny, have we? So yeah, we'll kind of take that as a massive pinch of salt on that one.
It'll be here when it's here. That's the best I can say. And at this point, I'm losing faith in it causing any sort of big kerfuffles in the race. If it had came about 5 laps earlier, I would have been really excited to see how this final 20 laps went and really see a big mix-up. But I think with it being lap 87, I think it's there. Ross Smith, our wonderful, beautiful friend, has had some sort of a moment here. What's happened to Ross Smith? Lock the rear axle and kick her around.
Unfortunately for Ross there, around he went. Craig Pullen has also gone round and gets a little bit of a tap from Ben Kesby there for Craig Pullen. He does manage to hold. Oh no, John Mayer gets past him. So Craig is now behind John Mayer again after picking him up, saying how well he's done. It's all gone a little bit Pete Tong there.
It really has, and it's unfortunate to see there, but you know, it's the nature of racing. Here we go, hard on the brakes, going through. You got a GT3 there to the outside, come through, hold on to it, hold around, and well, don't do that. Not the move you want to make here. Danny in YouTube chat, from what I heard earlier, it's raining everywhere around the surrounding area except the racetrack. I will tell you right now, from looking at the radar, that is 1,000,000% accurate, because every time I look at the radar, there's rain to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. There is not a single thing at the actual physical racetrack, but every street around it within a block has seen rain across the course of this 88 laps that we have been running. So, yeah, no, you're very accurate with that, and I think it is just our way of being told that we need to not ask for the rain and we would receive the rain.
I'm going to have a refresh of the weather. There is a massive situation. If you go down to Craig Pullen at this moment in time, there was a huge little ding-dong going on with Mike Bice, Eugene Missouri, Adam Gray, Magnus Dahlgren. All of them are now as well. Rain for at least 60 minutes, Brad. There is rain for 60 minutes, everybody. It's toying with us, says Danny. Kenny, yeah, I got family in Avon, Indiana, and it's raining on and off. 15-minute drive from the track. Well,
yep.
Maybe they put a block on it. Maybe we're not really following real life. This is George Angelini teasing us, and we've got dry weather all the way through.
I bet I could see George Angelides doing that and going, I don't want to deal with rain. We're just going to make it cloudy and everybody will be okay. Look at this right little fight, though, with George and Jerry Chen, half a second separated as we go through, and George Angelides trying to fight for second place. They've got 4.3 seconds up to Scar Pope as we go through lap 89 of 101. We continue around. Look at the lights blinking there from Jerry Chen. He's saying, hey, GT3, get out of my way, but make sure you don't get out of the way of the car behind me. I need you to hold him up.
No, it doesn't have to. I've read the rules. As he does get through, George on Jerry. Going side by side now. George is going to make it through. Robert Molin. Molin's forcing his way through as well. Robert Molin forcing his way past the Jerry Chen and also David Shun in the hypercar, in the GT3 there. And Jerry is not going to be impressed in that one, but he had to be a little bit more aggressive, Brad. He had to be a little bit more aggressive.
He did have to, and we see what happens and where this goes. Now, George Angelides is under the sights of Jerry Chen. Jerry Chen going to be looking to get past him very quickly because he is losing time to Cameron Barker more and more every second. as they continue around and along. George Angelides running very wide there through the final corner to run straight down. Here we go, and this is going to be Mullen needing to make this pass into turn 1 on George. He's not going to be there. Is he going to try to Danny Rickett around the inside? He does not. As we continue through.
This is the blurred line for me. He does manage to get through on that one. I'm sure. Yeah, George let him through on that one. Just before I started on my little discussion on other situations that would probably get me in trouble. So I'm going to stay away from that. But Robert Molin, due to that situation and everything else, has lost about 3 seconds. But Cameron Barker, however, has just been off the side of the circuit. He's got himself there and unfortunately gone off the side of the track. So is David Shunt. Both of them have just gone off. Barker and Shunt there, as we'll have a look at the replay right now. You can see he comes down into the corner, overcooks it. The back end goes round now, and he's just sliding. And then if you go to David Shunt, who was just in front of him at that moment in time, you see Shunt going off at the same time. So, yeah, unfortunately, David Shunt is second in class now, but he's about 14 seconds away from JT Tammy. And there you go, bro.
Yeah, with the spin there from Cameron Barker, that puts Robin Mullen comfortably in P2 there. 8.5 seconds separating through these remaining laps as they go. George Angelides is catching Scar Pope slowly, gap 3.7 seconds as they stand around in the ooh, it's the death wobbles. Big save there from Mullen. Oh my goodness me, what was that?
Yeah. I think it's one of them situations, isn't it, for Robin Molin? You know, George is here with the GT3 in front of him, right? That is currently William Schlichting. He's got that Molin in behind him again here. I'm a bit confused how Molin ended up back behind him. Or did I miss something there?
I was going to say, Mullen is in front of him. I'm not sure.
Molin is in front of him in the standings, but I'm sure George has already moved out of the way from Robert Molin once.
He has, yeah, actually.
So how did Molin then end up back behind him again?
That's a good question.
Go. Thank you. I'm glad. I thought I weren't losing the plot there. I'm pretty sure that actually. Yeah, they did. Molin went through once already, and George let him through. George let him through. Remember, that's what we were told. And then he ended up back behind him again. So I'm not entirely sure what happened with Robert Molin and how he ended up back behind George on that one. But we'll keep an eye out. Nobody is really close together at the moment. Everybody's just kind of getting to the end of the race, Brad, at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be what the goal is here at this point. We're within 10 laps to go. Nobody's real close. It's play it clean. Don't get taken out by a different class car, whether that's GT3 and Hypercar, Hypercar GT3, whatever it may be. Play it clean with everyone around and go through. And we have an idea of what happened to Mr. Mullen. Let's get a quick replay here. And I have a feeling that this is going to be the story of Mullen going through with a GT3, and well, he's side by side. There's that, and yeah, no, that's the wiggle.
So that was the after of what you saw, what we caught the back end of. So that's how that one happened for Robert Molin. The contact with a GT3 is not the first time. So we've lost 7 cars over today, which has not been too bad at all. At 93 of 101 here at Brad, and well, it's been an interesting race, but kind of settled down a little bit now at the end.
It has, and it doesn't surprise me here that it's settled down just because we are at the end. There's no sense in losing your race now over something crazy, especially if you're not really in the battle for position right now. Like we see, the gaps are spread out in many places here. I think George Angelides is really going to be the one we see pushed to the end here to try to get the win on Scar Pope here in Indianapolis. You know, my driver of the day right now is Robin Moling. Robin Moling has been very impressive to me here. Not the most consistent driver. I will say that. Has had a couple of big, scary moments, but overall has been very fast and is very much in competition up there in second place where Robin Moling belongs to be. And I would say, too, if it wasn't for the fact that Dan Kirby had such a stellar first half of the race, I think Moling could have battled for a win here today as we go through. George Angelides a second faster than Scar Pope on this last lap, and we go through. We'll see how he closes the gap this next lap. And you see before they even hit turn one, he's got that gap down to 1.2 seconds before the braking zone, and we'll see here what he can do to continue to close that through. George Angelides is a man on a mission in an Acura. He is really going to be looking for the win here.
Yeah, well, he's got to follow. He's got to try and get as close to Scar Pope as he possibly can. Pope's going to battle, I'm sure, away here. Robert Molen in that fight, just in front. What he really needs to do is use Robert Molen to try and clear the cars in front. Unfortunately, Robert Molen has got Pullen in front of him there, and then there's GT3s in front of Pullen. So there's going to be a bit of a mission for Pope to try and get through, because obviously Craig Pullen is in his class after leading earlier on. He had a few mistakes that then put him down the order. And for Scar Pope, well, he's going to have to do a little bit of aggressive, because he's got a Bice Stephen in front of him, and then further up the road is Molen and Pullen, and Molen's not really being able to clear Pullen at this moment in time.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see not able to clear through going around, and we continue. Oh, this is your battle. George Angelides, Scar Pope. Here we go into turn one. George Angelides, is there competition to this? Not a chance. George Angelides, very smooth and clean into turn one. Scar Pope didn't even try to block. I mean, I don't think George could have made that look easier if Scar Pope had been asleep. Very good move there. John Mayer, Adam Gray, they're not too far apart as they go either, so we should continue to see some good battles here. Sorry, it's not Adam Gray and John Mayer. It's Adam Gray and Benjamin Porteous Heath. They're separated by 2 seconds here with 6 laps to go. So we're starting to see a couple more battles pop in here at the very end. Big question mark right now for me is the Hypercar AMS, and the winner in the Hypercar AMS, where that lands out.
Yeah, they're still going here. I can safely tell you they are still going. They're going past traffic. Kaloranakis has just got himself out of the way. Pope's going to try and go on the inside, currently down into turn 12. Nothing doing there. Now around the left-hander on 13. Pullen is obviously going to be a lap car again on that one. So for Angelides and Scar Pope, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Craig Pullen. And I've never seen Scar roll over so easy as what he did in that overtake. He didn't really defend. But one of the other questions I want to ask right about the DQs that we've had for no lights. It's daylight. Why do they need lights?
I think it's because of the weather, is my guess. I don't know for sure, though. You are asking the wrong person. I will redirect that question to the chat, to our wonderful friend, Mr. Dan Herlock, who got DNF'd.
I'm just wondering, because it's daylight. I would be angry. It's like them people when you're on the road who flash you for not having your lights on, and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, if you can't see me now, you need to go to Specsavers. Well, these guys can still see the car in front of them, right? You know, not being rude, if you jump on board, you can see the cars as clear as day. So I think that no lights DQ situation is a little bit unfair, as Pullen and Pope are running side by side here, because it's still daylight. I think that's unfair. I'm going to put my foot down and throw me dummy out there.
I think it's because of the weather. Scar Pope got very lucky on that one to hold that together, but Pullen not pulling the best move there and spinning out of turn 13. I will say I would be frustrated. I don't know if I would be as mad as one driver is over the other, but I would be frustrated if I was in their shoes, because it is a little frustrating. Dan Herlock, you know, it's unfortunate. It is part of racing, though.
I know, but I'm asking why. Why is there an obligation to have your lights on when it's daytime? I get it if it's pitch black, right? I get that. Why daytime?
The only thing I can guess is because of the weather. But again, I can't answer that. That is going to be a question for probably George or Ross after the race. I have a sneaking suspicion. I'll see if I can do...
Parker! Gee whiz, Superman. He put on the S-pants then and come for an absolute send over these guys. George Angelidis nearly did a little pirouette there at the hands of Cameron Barker. They were very, very close to spinning round there. And that was that was crazy. That was just flat out, off your nut, pray that they see you overtake there from Cameron Barker on that one.
Yeah, that was a very interesting one. I'm very glad that nobody spun out there, but again, I think this is just the end of the race. A little bit of fatigue setting in, and Mr. Cameron Barker decided to make a move there that I don't think he would have done any other point in the race. But he does here as we cross the line, lap 98 of 101 as we go around here. And we got to talk about this man right here, Dan Kirby. Just, I mean, what can you say other than just domination? It's very self-describing. 20 seconds in the lead. That lead has been substantial at points. I mean, if you're Dan Kirby, it's been a Saturday afternoon cruise. It's not even been, challenging, really. I don't think he's had issues with traffic, per se. I don't think he's had issues with cars really trying to get past him. I don't think he's ever really been under pressure for the lead. I don't think there's been a question since lap 1 that Dan Kirby was going to win this race.
Told you that earlier, and I got laughed at by Mr. Glover.
Well, that's Paul.
You know what I mean? Clearly I know more than he does. RF2 could be a funky with the lights thing. It's fairly well known, just happens sometimes. Can't do much about it, just needs to change where the button on my wheel is so I don't accidentally hit it while sliding. No, what I'm asking is why? Is it a RF2 thing that for some reason it feels you need lights in the daytime or not? So there we go. Well, Craig Pullen has been off the side of the circuit, and I'm wondering if it may have had something to do with, yes, he made contact with Scar Pope, who did manage to survive, but where is Jerry? Is a long way back from him, so I'm not entirely sure how that one panned out, but Craig Pullen did end up going round. Your car is so much more visible to incoming traffic with red lights on the camera, but it's daytime. Why do I need lights? Dude, if I can't see, I need to go to Specsavers Labs. I'm not being rude. We can jump on board and show you how visible the car is. If Dan Kirby is there on your screen at the moment, and if you go on the driver situation, you see the whole track, nothing but the track, but every part of the track. So I'm well confused. Oh no, that one. But here is Craig Pullen. He does get very close to Scar Pope, and then unfortunately spins it round. I can't actually see where Jerry got the overtake done on that one. I thought Matthew Overton was out.
I thought he was too, is he not?
No, he's just had a bit of a moment now and is back in the race. But if you go on board with Dan Kirby, it's raining.
Of course the rain comes in now. There's the wiper on for Dan Kirby. Of course the rain hits now.
It's raining. It's
2 laps to go.
Yeah, well, we said, didn't we? We said if it don't come, that it was there, but it did actually come in the first place, so that's always good. We knew, but whether or not it's going to make a difference to the racetrack over 2 laps, well, we don't really know.
If it does make a difference, I'll be very surprised. Of course it could. I mean, it definitely could. I don't know if it will. For Kirby, it's literally just a case he's going to come across and take the white flag here. It is raining a bit more significant than I thought through turns 3 and 4 of the track, but I mean, at this point for Dan Kirby, he's just got to complete 1 lap, and he's got 17 seconds in his pocket. So, just drive it smooth, friend. That's all I can say. Drive it nice and pretty and smooth.
I do agree. For Dan Kirby, great job from him over the final lap of the race. Is he going to be able to control this car? That's going to be the question. Can he control it, or can he not? But it looks like at the moment he can, as he's got Matthew Overton. I told you, Matt Overton's back on the racetrack again. I'm sure he was out.
I think he was. I wonder if it was a disconnect and he was able to rejoin with no issues. Because we have seen that happen in the past. So it is possible, and hey, he's going to pick up some points here as it goes. Mr. Reese in YouTube chat, here comes the rain. It's not wrong. It just showed up way too late in the race for my liking.
It did. Final lap of the race for Dan Kirby. He was in a fight for a brief little moment, and then all of a sudden it's game over, and he's taken the lead. I did predict it earlier on, of course, on that one. So through turn 12 he goes. Through turn 13, the left-hander, he's got Eduardo Benica sliding like a penguin on his belly, going down a mountain hill. But Dan Kirby's going to come over the line. He flashes his lights. He's got his lights on as he comes over the line. Great job from Dan Kirby. Takes the victory. Robert Molin will get second place. George Angelidis is going to come through and take the win in the Hypercar AMS, of course. That is as long as he can survive 12, 13 and 14 without any dramatics. I'm saying in a very careful way.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to come through turn 14.
Yeah, he got the job done. Great job from George. Takes the win in the Hypercar AMS on that one. William Schlichting has finished. He's taken the win in the GT3s. So great job from him. And Matt Bice is turn 12, I believe. Yeah, he is as well, as he comes over the line for Matt Bice, and he's going to take the victory in the GT3 AMS. So yeah, and I'd like to point out we've got a Bice 1, 2, 3.
Hey,
Steve and Mike. So go on, you Bices. So on there, Dan's also said Matt did disconnect. You are correct. Thank you very much. I thought I weren't losing the plot. But Matthew comes over the line, takes the victory in the GT3 AMS as well. Okay, so it was a good race overall, I think, Brad, on this one.
It was a very good race. I'm really curious to know how things could have changed if rain like this had hit on lap 5 like we originally thought it would. The rain definitely not showing up, I think, through a strategy problem for several drivers who were really, really expecting it to show up. For some guys, it spelled the difference for their race. Trash Panda Racing here. 1, 2, 3. Bice on Bice. Brutality. Yeah. But you can tell they're very happy with where they're at. Kirby, no questions that he was going to win from the beginning. He set out lap 1 and just dominated. Same with Schlichting, starting lap 1 and just running away with it.
Absolutely. Let's bring you up the results here as well. We'll have them on your screen very, very shortly. So as we wait for Paul. There you go. Dan Kirby is your winner in the Hypercar Pros. Robert Molin in second. Cameron Parker in third. Then you got Timon Suvik and Magnus Dahlgren in fourth and fifth. Ben Kesby in sixth. Wouter de Bruin in seventh. Mike Bell in eighth. And then Tony McCoffin down in ninth. George Angelidis takes the win in the Hypercar AMS. Moving on from that, it is Scar Pope and Jerry Chen, as somebody's just plugged another AA battery into Paul Glover. Craig Pullen in 13th, John Meyer 14th, Adam Gray in 15th, Benjamin Boyers-Heath in 16th, and then you've got Luke Goodlife in 17th. William Schlichting wins the GT3 Pros in 18th, with JT Tammy in 19th, and David Jun down in 20th. Moving on. There we go. Johnny Gutierrez in 21st, Eugene Mazur in 22nd, Jaime Zalecki in 23rd, and Vasilios Katoranakis in 24th. James Walker in 25th, Gilles Lalonde in 26th. Then we've got Matthew Bice taking the win in GT3 AMS with Stephen Bice in second. And Eduardo Benica's down in 29th, but it took away my moment there because then we've got Mike Bice in third in the GT3 AMS. The Bices are 1, 2, and 3. Moving on from that one. Is there any more? There is. Ross did not have a good race, unfortunately for him, on that one. And then we've got Stephen Miller and Matthew Overton. Then the DNFs of Alan Holden, Eric Monet, Dan Scott, Pierre Moreno, Maximilian Petrovsky, Dan Herlock, and Philippe Dicarti, who both got DQ'd, of course. So there we go. On that one, I suppose we will get into interviews if we are all ready for interviews, and we can bring in, let's start from the bottom to the top and have a chat with Mr. Matt Bice, who leads for the first time, I believe, this season, a Bice 1, 2, 3 in the GT3 AMS. Matt, welcome in, buddy. Congratulations.
It is great to be back in the booth.
Dude, 1, 2, 3.
I know, I can't believe it. It's been a long time coming.
Mate, it's taken you 11 rounds.
Good practice. Good practice.
11 rounds in 10 months. But listen, you finally got there, so well done to all three of you. Absolutely great job. But you, how tough was it out there as well? Because it did get a little bit argy-bargy at times.
Yeah, I think I may have bumped a little bit more than I really intended throughout that race, but for the most part, stayed out of most of the spins and mess that was around me. Biggest challenge was getting there across the line by the end with any fuel left.
Yeah, how much fuel did you have, do you know?
About a lap. I think Mike
Ooh.
finished on less than a tenth of a lap.
Ooh. And then we got hit with rain, which was predicted. Well, to be fair, mate, we gave up in the end because it was coming in 4 minutes, and then it came in. Then it went back out to 18, and then we were like, right, we're just giving up. The rain's on its way. We just don't know when. Hit you at the end. How tough was it?
Well, by then everybody had sort of slowed down. I think it was more of a coast to the finish sort of deal. Everybody was, I'm sure, tired and fuel saving around me too. So thankfully the rain didn't have much impact, but it was definitely a battle of attrition out there.
And are we going to see a Bice celebratory photo in the chat later with you three together?
Oh boy, might have to. Well, one of them.
Is that possible?
I've got a chance to get two of us together, but unfortunately the third is miles away.
Oh, okay. I'll
we'll see what we can do.
Send him get him to send you a photo and then Photoshop it together.
That's right. That's
that
right.
works.
We'll get the cars in there too.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So well done on that, Matt, as well. But is there anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, bud?
Definitely want to thank my bros for great practice this week. We really put our heads together and practiced hard to make this one happen today, and I think this could have really helped for me as far as the championship goes. So we'll see what the points come out to.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how you get on there. But well done, Matt, on that one. And congratulations on your win.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem at all. Have a good one, bud.
Bye.
Right. What have we got? Oh, okay. Right. Then we're going to pull in your GT3 winner there, Mr. William Schlichting. William, welcome in, bud. How are you?
Oh, hello, I'm good.
Good?
Very good. The race was really, really tricky. I mean, I did a huge mistake on the fuel calculation. It's left like 45 liters on the tank, so I was saving anyway the whole race saving fuel, but it was not necessary, and I didn't know about that. My widgets on tiny pedal got me.
Yeah, it was a tough race out there for a lot of people as well, but tougher for you leading the way. You had Benica pressurizing you at one point, ended up in a nice little battle there, but then towards the end, it was just you, yourself, and I driving around on its own.
Yeah, Benica had a crash out there, and
yep.
I think it was like a hypercar spun on just in front of us, and I go to the left, and I don't know what happened there, but I was excited about the start of the race because of Benica was close. We raced it on Thursday here, and we did the entire race like half second behind each other. So it was really, really challenging on the Thursday, but
Mm.
today that crash absolutely ends his race, and that's it.
Yeah, it did. It gave him damage there after an incident with Luke Goodlife. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go, William?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks Beninka for the race, for the setup and things like that. He is a huge friend, and we are doing a lot of things together. And thanks for the SARC team that I am driving for on the VEC and VMS series. And thanks for the help. Thanks for everything, and thanks for the steward here that host the race. It was awesome.
Yeah, it definitely was. So well done, William, on that one, and look forward to seeing what you can do next time out at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, thanks. Will be a huge challenge. That track is the curbs is really hard. And
Mm-hmm.
let's see what's coming on there.
Yeah, absolutely. But take care, William, and we'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks.
All right, there you go. That is William Schlichting. There, now we go in to the Hypercar competition. Of course, there were some great battles all the way through. Craig Pullen leading the way, and then obviously Jerry Chen was up there. There was battles all the way through, but the man that come out with the victory is one Mr. George Angelidis, the boss man himself. Bring him in here. Apparently, he's partly responsible for the 9X8 having to have a wing on it, but I'm sure that's a different conversation altogether. George, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Hello. I'm exhausted.
Oh, dude, that was so long. Fair play.
Why can't I just have a win where it is just nice dandy driving in the sunset and just no other drama and no mess or crazy strategies and crazy hypercars going around and crazy traffic and then rain at the end? Oh,
Because that would be boring, George.
yeah, but can I have one win which is boring?
No.
One boring win.
No, because you'll be watching a podcast with me, Brad, on that one. You wouldn't be watching a motor race if it was boring. You know what I mean? You'd be watching a podcast, and that's never good for anybody. It was tough out there, George, and there was a lot of action going on. You know, Dan Herlock suffering a DQ, which I do not understand whatsoever. Maybe you could explain it to me. He got DQ'd for not having lights on, but it was daylight. Why do we need lights in daylight? I don't get it.
If it passes a certain point into the time of day, and if it is cloudy, I think the game just requires headlights on. So I mean, it would be a message that it would show up there. So there is a message, so you can see it. Anyway, I mean, everybody has the opportunity to turn on their lights at the beginning of the race and forget about them. But yeah. For my race, can I start with a shout out first before the interview?
If you want to.
Yeah, so I want to shout out to Jerry Chen, for I updated recently to Windows 11 and I'm having massive problems, or I had massive problems with micro stuttering and micro lags. And I didn't know if I'm gonna make the race. I had to either format my PC or I don't know what, update graphics. So he stayed with me yesterday 6 hours of his own time to help me troubleshoot my game so it is in a runnable state. So, and credit to him. You know, we compete for the championship, and you know there is nothing more sportsmanlike than helping out your fellow competitor that is basically running against you for somebody to race. So you know, that's the big shout out. Kudos to him. Just the culture in CMS in general, that you know, we are competitors, all of us. We are very hard to each other on the track, but I think the most important thing is that above all we're friends, and I think that's the message here. So that win goes to him, because without him I wouldn't be racing today. So having said that, for the race itself, initially I thought that everybody should be on a 4-stop strategy. So, but when I saw that Jerry continued on when I pitted at lap 20, I said, oh gosh, he's going to make it. He's going to make it a long one because I know he's going to fuel save and he's going to try to save a stop. So I had to keep on a delta to beat him. And then I saw immediately that Scar was also on the same strategy. So then I had to follow a timing, basically a target, a lap time of how much I should be gaining every stint on them to make it work. And then a couple of other hairy things with tires. I took left sides only on the first stop, then full set on the second stop, and then no tires on the third stop, and then left sides only on the last stop. Because I knew it's going to be tight with Scott and Jerry at the end, which he was. But I needed to have, if I'm going to get released behind them, I needed to have some sort of an advantage. And 4 tires would have been it would have dropped me too far behind to make the gap. So 2 tires was, I think, the right call at the end.
Well, it seemed to work out, George. You did a great job.
Yeah, thank you. But at the end, I thought that, when I passed Scar, all I wanted is just the race to end, calmly everybody go into their pace and we can continue. But no, we had the hypercars fighting for the win, that they were overtaking us. Then we were catching back Craig Pullen, that I don't know what happened to him. He was having a very good race in the beginning. I thought he was leading it. He was going for the win. And then in the last stop, something happened. So he dropped out and he was a lap down. And then me and Scar were fighting for the lead. And then Cameron comes in, tried to overtake me. And, there's a kerfuffle there.
Yep.
And then I'm saying, okay, that's it. And then rain at the last 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is unscriptable.
Yeah, it was. We're blaming everything with Craig Pullen on Brad, by the way. We were talking about how well he was doing. And then unfortunately he spun. And then he spun again. And then he unfortunately got himself caught up in a load of other things where he ended up spinning again. So it wasn't just a pit stop for Craig Pullen. It was almost, George, one of them where you spin and then you go full flat to try and make up the difference. But it didn't quite work out that way for Craig. He went full flat, kind of, and then it just unraveled. It was not good for Craig on that one. But one of them things, it is what it is. A day, I'm sure he'll learn from it. George, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, apart from, obviously, Jerry Chen?
I think still Jerry needs to get the start.
Okay. Go for it again.
Yeah, he's going to get a double one. Scar as well for the great racing, and Craig, I think Craig, Jerry, and Scar today, we had such an amazing battles and race and very clean. We have 2 races to go. Championship up on grabs for again. So we'll see what's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, George, absolutely amazing talking to you, as it always is when you have a victory. And we'll look. Oh, can I just ask you one final question?
Yes, sir.
All right, top secret. Nobody's watching. Did you have anything to do with the 9X8 having to put a wing on?
What do you mean? I mean, the car was already decided by Peugeot that they're gonna do the wing. So
I heard a rumor that some of your boys over at Honda may have had something to do with a change of regulations that the 9X8 had to put a wing on.
No, we didn't do that.
That car was already that's smiling, George. I can see it in your voice, mate.
No.
I can hear it.
That car was already having so many struggles. We wouldn't be doing that to that car if we would.
Yeah, I don't know. He says it with a smile on his face, guys. So, take it with a pinch of salt from George Angelidis. George, been a pleasure, mate. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the exact reason why I'm still running Windows 10 and not Windows 11. Because as soon as I upgraded it, I had the same problems with George. I had to go and wipe my PC and start again. So hint to anybody wanting to do this job and Windows 11, it don't work. So there we go. I'm ignoring Paul Glover who's wanting Windows 11. That's down to him. Right, next up on the booth is the man that had a battle at the beginning. He was doubted by our own producer whether or not he would take the win. Now, I said that he would take the win on that one, and he did go and take the win. Welcome in, Dan Kirby. You can hear our producer Paul denying all aspects that he said you wouldn't win. Go and watch it back on the broadcast. Dan, great job. Oh my God. Great job, mate. How was it out there for you?
Whew, that was a lot of fun, a lot of work. Man, I don't know. That was crazy.
It was crazy, dude. You were having a great battle at the beginning, right? With Cameron Barker in there, and Robert Molin was in there fighting away. You know, that's got to be the fun part, right? And then you go and open up the gap and take the victory.
Yeah, I was lucky. I had a really good lap one and got by Dan Herlock, so that kind of set up my race a lot. And then I was able to kind of just manage my tires and stuff. But yeah, Cameron and Robin were right there pretty much the whole race with me. So never a second of relaxation, just constant trying to keep the concentration up. Yeah, that was really difficult.
Well, you did do it. So, and I think you can safely say you've probably wrapped up the championship with 2 races to go here. I think extend your gap by about, well, Dan Herlock got DQ'd, so, you know, he didn't get anything. So you're going to extend it even further. I know you've been vocal in the chat about his DQ. I reckon it was a load of rubbish as well, to be honest with you, Dan. I don't think he should have got DQ'd for no lights in the bleeding daytime. But hey, listen.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it definitely does. Going forward for you, Road Atlanta next, mate. We love a bit of Road Atlanta. Completely different circuit to this one. And if we get another 40-car grid, you're going to be sweating even more than you were here.
Yeah, that one's going to be really difficult to manage traffic in. So it's going to be just playing the game of survival, trying not to hit anybody.
I agree. Dan, I think it is. Your main aspect on that one is going to go in and survive. So, yeah, that's going to be an exciting one for you as well. Dan, have you been doing any testing for these guys for next season?
Maybe.
Oh, Dan, I already know. We already know. It's not top secret, Dan. You know what I mean? Come on, you stop denying it as well. Just don't give me the year because Ross has already banned me from knowing what the year of the new historics is. But how are the cars coming along? Are they looking good?
Yeah, from what I've seen, they look good. They're a beast to drive. We'll say that.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Shush. Paul Glover in the box here. Dan can actually hear Paul, and Paul's telling him not to say anything to me because he knows I go fishing for the year every single time and I never get it. But listen, Dan, go on.
They have 4 tires.
Oh, well, that works. Anyway, at least we know it's a bit different. It's not a skateboard. Listen, Dan, have a good one, mate. I'm not going to put you on the spot anymore because I don't want you to drop yourself in it. Anyone you want to give a shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, my team, Cameron, for making it a double podium. That's freaking awesome. Sucks. Our other teammate, John, pulled a hamstring like 2 days ago, so he couldn't make the race. So wishing him better recovery.
Okay,
and yep,
was that it? Okay, mate.
Yeah, sorry.
You paused. You didn't say anything else. Dan Erlock's in YouTube chat telling you to spill the beans on the historics, but don't, because I don't want you to get yourself in trouble on that one. Dan, it's been a pleasure, mate. It always is. So I look forward to probably having a chat with you at Road Atlanta.
Alrighty, see you guys.
Take care, man.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, I went fishing now, and then I got stuck and stopped, Brad, by our very own Mr. Paul Glover. Almost had it. I reckon I could have got the year out of him on that one.
Well, I think for Paul, it's a case of job security because I was going to also make sure that he didn't say the year either. Job security is important here, James. Just saying.
I know. I reckon I've got it. Right, guys, that is going to bring this one to an end. And I think you can safely say it's been an epic. Well, we've had about 3 hours of racing by what I can see on the time there as well. So for now, guys, I think it's going to be done and dusted. Much love to everybody in YouTube chat. I did see a notification flash up earlier on that we made it over 100 messages. So that's absolutely awesome in Restream on that one. So thank you so very much to everybody that's joined us. Personal shout outs to Kenny, who's been here all the way through. So much love to him. Lars has been in and out. And I presume our Mr. Resident Ted Kravitz of Mr. Reese has also been in. He is, bless him, in there as well. So much love to everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. And as always, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on a track sometime. Good night.